Because I thought it was still going on. Okay.
What'd you do to dance?
Is this one like
I'll wait for it.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Oh, he's an engineer. Yeah.
How you been? Good?
I am good, how are you? For the conversations, I picked up Jason because it's few of them.
Oh, okay.
But Dan, I think Dan's on 6 and 7.
Items which?
He's had a lot of stress lately. Yeah.
Okay.
Two parts. It's 3 parts.
I'd like to call to order the Leesburg Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of July 21st, 2002. Please rise for the prayer and the pledge. We join you here this evening with a sad heart as our city manager's father has passed, and he has taken care of business up there. We give him all the prayers for his family. We also ask for guidance today that the decisions we make, Lord, will be pleasing in your sight. Pray this in thy most holy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Moving right along. Before you, commissioners, you have last month's minutes. Are there any additions, corrections, or amendments to those minutes?
Move to approve as presented.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Make sure everybody stands up for the swearing.
Okay, we got a lot of people today. We got an awful long agenda too, okay? So we're going to be as short and brief as we can. So comments we're going to hold to a minimum. Those who want to speak, we have a list here. Please rise and we will be sworn in.
Everybody that needs to speak, please rise.
Do you swear to affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
I do.
Got a bunch of I-dos out there. Last time I said that I got married. Okay. Dan, why don't you explain to these folks how we're going to do business?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to welcome everyone to the June 23, 2022 City of Leesburg Planning Commission meeting. My name is Dan Miller, Planning and Zoning Director for the City of Leesburg. Staff present today includes Sabrina Mitchell, our Administrative Assistant to my left, and then Senior Planners Candy Harper and Diane Pasewitz. Today's meeting should have an agenda available to you by the exit door. There's one up on the screen now as well. If you'd like to speak on a case, we do ask that you sign the speaker's registry. I believe everyone has been sworn already. Under the rules of participation, the meeting is conducted under the following process. The chairman will announce the case, and staff will then read exhibits, including maps, photos, and text, into the record and present this information on the screens. Staff will then read a recommendation into the record. The applicant will have an opportunity to speak about the request. The chairman will allow time for public comments, and the applicant will have an opportunity for a rebuttal. The chairman will close the case to the public. The commission will discuss the case. A vote will then be taken. Planning Commission is a citizen board which is appointed by the City Commission. They are charged with two major responsibilities. One is to make final decisions on cases such as variances and conditional uses. The second is to make recommendations for issues to be heard by the City Commission. Today, the Planning Commission will make a final decision on the one conditional use case, and then we'll make a recommendation on all the other cases on the agenda. Those recommendations will then be forwarded to the City Commission for their final decision. I'd like to ask you to please note the tentative dates for the City Commission hearings that are listed in bold on the agenda. These dates are subject to be changed to earlier or later dates, so please check with P&Z staff or the city clerk's office regarding final hearing dates. And then finally, on behalf of the planning staff and the Leesburg Planning Commission, I'd like to welcome you to the City of Leesburg Planning Commission meeting, and thank you for your participation in today's public hearing process. Mr. Chairman, we're ready for you to announce the first case.
Thank you, Dan. Public hearing case, excuse me, SSCP 22173, Swan Silver Lake Property, Small Scale Comp Plan Amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have two cases on this, a small scale comp plan amendment and a rezoning. With your permission, I'd like to discuss these as a whole, and then the votes can be taken later.
Thank you.
On the Swan Silver Lake property, we're making a request to hold that to the next PC meeting at the request of the applicant's representative. The site plan had to be revised, and so staff does have to have time to review that revised site plan, and we will bring it back to you next month.
Okay, so it's not brought forward from last month to this month.
Well, it's brought forward from last month to this month, but unfortunately because some changes. And the changes really have to do with creating some options for the property that were not there previously. And I think it's actually going to end up be a better plan. That's what I'm hoping for. So if that would please the court, please the commission.
Yes. Okay, I'll need a motion to postpone that SCP 22173 and 174.
So moved.
I have a motion. I need them. I do them both together. Can I, counsel?
Did we read out the second item yet?
I read the number, but that's all.
Yeah, if we,
All right, let's do SCP 22173. I have a motion to postpone. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Yes, sir.
Well, I was trying to catch you before you voted, but I can't vote on that. I have to step down because I'm involved in the case.
You can sit right there if you don't want to.
Okay.
Please understand that Commissioner Senate has abstained on both of these votes. Next item, public hearing case PUD 22174, Swan Silver Lake Property Planned Unit Development. Need a motion for postponement.
So moved.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your right hand. We're moving right along. Boy, wouldn't that be nice? That's under old business. Under new business, public hearing case CUP 22337, Lake Montessori School Conditional Use Permit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for CUP 22337 Lake Montessori School. This is a request for a conditional use permit for school uses in the R1, which is low-density residential, and R2, medium-density residential zoning district. This is per section 25-284, City of Leesburg District Use Regulations, which covers conditional uses. This will allow educational use and educational institution use for properties generally located west of Lee Street and south of Webster Street. The project will expand the area they can use for school and classrooms. Candy Harper, senior planner, will present the maps and photo exhibits at this time, which include the aerial, zoning, future and surrounding land use, wetlands, flood zones, CRA maps.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. So on the screen before you is an aerial giving you the location. It's south of Webster. That is south of 441 as well. The trail runs to the south end of the property, and you can see how many parcels are involved in this application. Zoning is on the next slide. It's R1 zoning for part of it and R2 for the other part of it. And the future land use is all low-density residential. The surrounding existing land uses are residential for the most part, with one office building and the trail to the south. You can see it's high and dry, and it is in Commission District 1. It's also in a community redevelopment area, and it is just immediately north of the Historic Preservation District, so it is not involved in that. And that is all I have, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Candy. With that, we move to the departmental review summary. The project was sent out to all city departments, plus Lake County government and the school board. The city department review showed no substantive comments, and Lake County government and school board had no comments. We received one response from the surrounding property owner letters, newspaper advertisement, and sign posting, and there was a concern regarding traffic on that one. At this point, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to read the recommendation into the record. For CUPK, Inspiration Properties, Hugo F. Hormazabal, Case number CUP 22-337, Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval of the request for the following reasons. The request meets the criteria set forth in Section 25-141, Conditional Uses of the City of Leesburg Code of Ordinances, for the granting of a conditional use permit to allow an educational institution use for a private school. 2, subject to the conditions listed below, the use of the subject property as administrative offices and classrooms does not appear to create a detrimental impact on the surrounding properties. 3, the request does not create an inconsistency with the City of Leesburg Comprehensive Plan. This comes with the following conditions. 1, the conditional use permit is granted to the permittee to allow for an educational institution use in an R1 and R2 residential zoning districts per Section 25-141. Conditional uses in Section 25-284 district use regulations of the Land Development Code. 2, this conditional use permit is subject to all City of Leesburg code requirements, including zoning and building code regulations as amended. 3, the granting of this conditional use permit does not exempt the applicant from other applicable regulations of the City of Leesburg and other governmental agencies, as well as assessment of any impact fees necessary for the completion of the project. 4, the violation of any of these conditions may result in the permit becoming null and void. And 5, the conditional use permit must be properly executed by the applicant and filed with Leesburg Planning and Zoning Division within 90 days from the date of approval, or it shall become null and void, and the permittee must reapply for a rehearing of the request. Until the permit has been properly executed by the permittee, no building or other permits will be issued. The action requested is vote to approve the conditional use permit for the subject property to allow for an educational institution used for a private school. Mr. Chairman, as you know, the Montessori school is currently in use. They're adding a property to that. They already have a couple of properties that are on Perkins Street, and there has to any knowledge that we have received or been aware of, no issues with this. And therefore, because it will allow continued growth of the school and does not change the uses, it does not change the land area or the existing buildings, we are recommending approval. I believe Dr. Hugo Homazabal is here, if there are any questions.
Okay. Does the commission have any questions of staff? Is anyone here wanting to speak or address this issue? Any discussion amongst the commission here?
I just got one question. Already, 2 of the parcels are already being in use by the school, correct?
Correct.
So the house facing on Perkins?
Perkins.
It'll add the house face, yes, sir. It'll add the house facing on Perkins. The school was built many years ago and has been used as a school. It's technically, from what we could find in our records, an existing non-conforming. So this will basically make it conforming.
It's a real asset, in my opinion, to the city.
Yeah. Been here a long time. My kids
Yes,
were
sir.
there.
If no one in the audience is going to speak on this and we're through, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, case number CUP 22337, I move to approve.
I have a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign against. Motion carries. Moving right along. Public hearing case, small scale comp plan amendment 22260, Brittany Commercial.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For these 2 cases, again, I'd request your permission to take them as a whole and vote separately. For these cases, Brittany Commercial, small-scale comp plan number 22-260, and Brittany Commercial rezoning, case number RZ 22-261. This is property generally located north of U.S. Highway 441, east of Water's Edge Drive, west of Mark Road, south of Brittany Boulevard. It's about 1.09 acres and consists of 2 parcels. Amending the comp plan, the request to amend the comp plan will change the future land use designation from Lake County Urban Medium Density to City of Leesburg General Commercial, which is what's generally in the area, as you'll see in a moment. and then the request to change the zoning from Lake County RMRP, which is Mobile Home Rental Park, and Lake County C2, which is Community Commercial, to City of Leesburg C3. And you'll also on those maps see C3 is what's in that general area. Generally, the purpose at this point is to allow for future storage of boats and trailers, something like that. But if it's C3, which it should be, they can do a number of things with it. Brittany Estates is a manufactured home community that's located in Lake County along 441. You can see it on the maps there right above the subject property labels. The association owns those two parcels, and they'd like to annex into the city and develop for these storage uses. Candy Harper, Senior Planner, will present the maps on the overhead at this time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Miller. The map in front of you shows a location. They're discontiguous with one another, but they are all part of Brittany Estates. Lake County shows one of them as commercial and the other one as part of the mobile home park, and I think that created some issues for them in what they wanted to do. And our zoning map shows commercial in between and commercial to the east. So this is going to clean that little area up a little bit. Again, Lake County zoning shows it as commercial and mobile home park. The proposed zoning is in the city of Leesburg, highway commercial. And the future land use all around it is commercial, which makes sense along 441. So these little properties want to come in and be part of the city. And Lake County future land use has urban medium density on right-of-way. And the proposed future land use, again, is highway commercial, general commercial. They are high and dry, have flood zones, and the surrounding properties along the corridor of US 441 is commercial, either developed or vacant, and then residential to the north. It does lie within the community redevelopment area, but because when that was created, it was not in the city, it is excluded at the moment from that. It is in Commission District 1, and that is all well, we can do the pictures. So we posted the property in several different locations because we try to hit every street that it's on. So this is looking north into the property from 441. The picture on the bottom is looking east on 441. Get a pretty good feeling for the corridor there. Looking south on US 441, so that's directly across the street, and then the bottom picture is looking west. And then we hiked around to the other street that surrounds it. And so the picture on top is looking west into the property. We're standing on Mark Road taking that picture. The picture on the top is looking north on Mark Road, shooting kind of into the subdivision. Top picture is looking east on Mark Road, and the bottom picture is looking south on Mark Road. That's then toward 441. And then we hiked across the way to find the other property and posted that as well. So the picture on the top is looking north into the property on US Highway 441. So that's the community behind it. You can kind of see where the boat and the house is. Picture on the bottom is looking east on US Highway 441. Picture on the bottom is looking south, so that's looking directly across 441. And the picture on the bottom is looking west on 441. That's all I have, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Candy. With that, we move to the departmental review summary. The applications were sent out to all the city departments. There were no comments returned. And, Mr. Chairman, for the once and only time in my career, there were no public responses from the surrounding property owner, letters, sign postings, or neighborhood advertisements. So at this point, I'd like to read the recommendations into the record, please. For case number SSCP 22-260, Brittany Commercial Planning and Zoning Divisions recommending approval of this request for the following reasons. The project meets the requirements of Chapter 163-3187 parentheses 1, parentheses C, Florida statutes for small-scale comp plan amendments. 2, the proposed future land use designation of general commercial is compatible with the current surrounding future land use categories of Lake County urban medium density and city general commercial. 3, the proposed future land use designation of general commercial is compatible with the proposed zoning of C3 highway commercial and does not appear to create a detriment to the adjacent surrounding zoning districts of Lake County RMRP, which is mobile home rental park, C2, which is community commercial, and City of Leesburg, C3, which is highway commercial. The proposed future land use designation for the site is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element goal 1, objective 1.6, and the action requested on the small-scale comp plan is vote to approve staff's recommendation to change the future land use map of the subject property from Lake County urban medium density to City of Leesburg general commercial and forward to the City Commission for their consideration. On the case number RZ 22261, Brittany Commercial, for the zoning side of this project, Planning and Zoning Division recommends approval of this request for the following reasons. 1, the proposed request is compatible with the current surrounding zoning districts of Lake County RMRP Mobile Home Rental Park District, Lake County C2 Commercial District, and City C3 Highway Commercial. 2, the proposed request of C3 highway commercial zoning is compatible with the proposed future land use designation of general commercial. 3, the proposed modification does not appear to create a detriment to surrounding properties and will allow for appropriate uses at this location. Therefore, the action requested is to vote to approve staff's recommendation to rezone the subject property from Lake County RMRP Mobile Home Rental Park District and C2 Community Commercial District to City of Leesburg C3 Highway Commercial and forward the recommendation to the City Commission for their consideration. I believe representatives of the Brittany Estates Homeowners Association are here, Mr. Chairman, and can answer any additional questions you may have. As this is a request for a straight C3 highway commercial zoning, which is appropriate for the area, staff finds no objections, and therefore we are recommending approval. Thank you.
I have a question, staff.
Yes, sir.
If they decide to keep it and use it for storage, is the city going to require screening?
Yes, sir.
Because it looks bad now.
It actually
There's
has.
boat trailers all over the place.
Right. They've actually done some, I believe, some improvements on some of the building on the property, but yes, they would have to do some form of fencing in order to have a complete opaque buffer, something you can't see through.
That'd be my only concern.
I have a gentleman in the back raising his hand, sir. You have to come up to the microphone and speak. Have you been sworn in, sir?
Yes. My name is Robert Lloyd. I'm actually the Community Association Manager for Brittany Estates. And what he was asking has already been approved by the Board of Directors. We've actually already commissioned Superior Fence to construct a 8-foot vinyl fence all the way along that property.
Probably a 6-foot by 8.
In commercial districts, I
8
believe it can
feet?
go to 8.
Wow, wonderful.
In residential, it's 6.
Not going to jump over that one.
Yeah.
I think, Bob, we talked about that when you were in the office.
Yes.
All right.
And we have a preliminary plan to plant shrubbery along the edge of that to actually help soften the look of that fence.
Very good. Any questions?
That was my only concern.
Any discussion amongst the commission? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve case number SSCP 22260.
260, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll entertain a motion on the next one, 22261.
Mr. Chairman, case number RZ 22261, I move to approve and forward to the commission.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving right along. Public hearing case, large-scale comp plan amendment 22267 on the Anthony property.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, I like to take these two cases as a whole and then vote on them. It's much easier for discussion purposes for the audience and for the commission. Large-scale comp plan 22-267 Anthony property, which is the large-scale comp plan amendment, map amendment, and then public hearing case PUD 22-268 planned unit development for the Anthony property. These are requests to allow for detached single-family residential development on property consisting of approximately 133 acres, generally located east of U.S. Highway 27 and south of Dewey Robbins Road. The request is to amend the comprehensive plan future land use map of the city of Leesburg to change that designation from Lake County Rural to City of Leesburg Estate Residential. The second request, the zoning, is to change this zoning on the area from Lake County A Agriculture to City of Leesburg PUD Planned Unit Development. Candy Harper, Senior Planner with the office, will present the maps and photo exhibits, including the aerial zoning, future and surrounding land use, wetlands, flood zone maps, and CRA maps.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. On the screen before you is the subject property. It is east of US 27 and immediately south of Dewey Robbins. To the north of it is the Hodges project, and to the north of that is Whispering Hills. Lake County zoning shows it all as R1, I believe. Proposed zoning in the city of Leesburg is planned unit development. Future land use in the city, you can see Hodges in green just to the north, and lying west of this property is Lake Co, and lying immediately west of that along the US 27 corridor is Leiden Nicholson. To the north is neighborhood mixed use, which is Whispering Hills. And the Lake County future land use is rural all around it. And the proposed future land use is estate residential in the city of Leesburg. The surrounding land uses are agriculture and residential. And you can see that there's a big lake in it with some wetlands and flood zones. Should it be taken into the city, it will be in Commission District 3. And we posted the property and took pictures. This is looking south into the property on Dewey Robbins. And the picture on the bottom is looking west on Dewey Robbins. The picture on the top is looking immediately across the street. And the picture on the bottom is looking east along Dewey Robbins. And that is all I have, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Candy. With that, we can go to the departmental review summary project, again sent out to all the city departments and Lake County Government School Board. Project was sent to the city departments for comments. The departments had no specific comments. Lake County Public Works did respond with a letter of comments which included the following. Lake County Public Works recommended requirements for this PUD include along Dewey Robbins Road. After preliminary review of the concept plan, the eastern access off Dewey Robbins Road should intersect at the existing intersection of Turkey Lake Road and Dewey Robbins. They will do further evaluation as future development applications, assuming this is approved, then they would have to do those. The access locations would need to meet the Lake County access management requirements. Both left and right turn lanes on Dewey Robbins at the development's proposed entrances. A dedicated left turn lane for Turkey Lake Road would need to be provided with the development's offside road improvements. They also noted that Dewey Robbins has vertical curves and hills that may impact the sight distance from intersecting side streets. They would require a site distance analysis with any future development application for the proposed entrance on Dewey Robbins. When it comes to site distance analysis, they have to meet what's called the Florida Green Book standards, which is a state transportation document. Then they will require a sidewalk and trail along Dewey Robbins Road to meet both city and county standards, and some other standard comments that they put in everything. But those were the main comments that Lake County requested. The school board noted that the residential portion, this is all, let's see, this one's, yeah, that this would be subject to school concurrency. Staff received at least, from public responses, staff received at least 9 written responses from the surrounding property owner, letters, newspaper, sign posting. Also in your packet, you'll find a petition signed by a number of folks in the area. And then it is outside the city of Leesburg's service area for electricity. Thank you, I got that. Thank you, that's good. So on the public responses, one of the responses was concerned about location of the entrance, and they recommended that if this was approved, that the entrance would be across from the other development, meaning Hanover's other development in the area. Hodges Reserve, thank you. The other concerns was, would there be fences in the area? There was a concern about the cheapness of development, school concerns about crime, and concerns about water. And just as a side point, any development in the city of Leesburg, if this eventually passes, does have to connect to city water and wastewater, so there's not any wells to be drilled out there. At this point, I'd like to go ahead and read the 2 recommendations into the record. For case number LSCP 22-267, Anthony Property, Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval of this request for the following reasons. 1, the project meets the requirements of Chapter 163.3184 Florida statutes for large-scale comprehensive plan amendments. 2, the proposed future land use designation of estate residential is compatible with the current surrounding future land use categories of City of Leesburg estate residential and Lake County rural. 3, the proposed future land use designation of City of Leesburg estate residential is compatible with the proposed zoning of city PUD and does not appear to create a detriment to the adjacent zoning districts of PUD, and as conditioned with Lake County districts of PUD and A agriculture. 4, the proposed future land use designation for the site is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element goal 1, objective 1.6. The action requested is vote to approve the staff's recommendation to amend the City of Leesburg's future land use map designation on the subject property from Lake County Rural to City of Leesburg Estate Residential and forward to the City Commission for their consideration. The next recommendation is for Anthony Property PUD 22-268. Planning and Zoning Divisions recommends approval of this request for the following reasons. The proposed request is compatible with the current surrounding zoning districts of City of Leesburg PUD and with Lake County Districts A agriculture and PUD plan unit development. As conditioned, the proposed use does not appear to be detrimental to the surrounding properties. 2, the proposed zoning district of PUD plan unit development as conditioned and as shown in the attached Exhibit A is compatible with the existing future land use designation of estate residential. 3, the rezoning of the subject property is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element goal 1, objective 1.6. The action requested is vote to approve staff's recommendation to rezone the subject property from Lake County A agriculture to City of Leesburg PUD planned unit development and forward this recommendation to the City Commission for their consideration. Just as a quick overall explanation, the request is for 133 acres, 391 units, 50 by 110 lots. The PUD shows 120. That's a typo. The density would be 2.94 units per acre. There's 35% open space requirement and single-family detached uses only. There are, within this PUD, design and architectural standards for all homes. There's a requirement for what's known as dark sky lighting, which I believe this commission has seen before, which is a manner of shielding and directing lighting inward. There's a requirement for gutters around all four sides of the houses. On landscape and buffers, there's a 25-foot buffer around the entire property, trees in each yard. There's protection of wetlands, which is brought up in the PUD, but that's also a very serious issue with the state of Florida. We just recite it in our PUDs. There are irrigation controls to use water-wise, Florida-friendly landscaping. You can't use St. Augustine grass because it's a water hog. You have to use Bermuda, Bahia, Zoysia, something like that. They're offering 18.5 acres of recreation, a trail around the existing pond, and amenity center area. I believe Mr. Ben Snyder of Hanover Homes is here to make a presentation, or Mr. Andrew McCown, I should say, make a presentation regarding this proposal and to answer any questions you may have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening. Andrew McCown with GAI Consultants. Our offices are located at 618 East South Street in Orlando. We are the planners and civil engineers for the project, representing Hanover Land Company. It's good to see you all again. It's becoming a regular occurrence. I hope the trend continues. So tonight, before you'll see our presentation for the Anthony PUD. We have members of the team here today, as usual, to answer any questions you have. Ben and Tony from Hanover Land, myself representing the planning, Tony Reddick for engineering, and Ayman Saidi for traffic. You've seen this slide many times, and Hanover needs no introduction, but needless to say, they are well known and respected in the community over many years. Just a quick summary of what was already said. So the applications that we're requesting for this project include a voluntary annexation of 133 acres, comp plan amendment to City of Leesburg Estate, and a rezoning from county agriculture to PUD. The surrounding area, you see the, how do I get the, oh, there it is. You see US 27 to the west, Dewey Robbins Road to the north of the project, and as was stated, another one of Hanover's projects just to the north, Hodges Reserve. We are inside the ISBA for City of Leesburg, and this is the surrounding area. All the projects that are currently either recently approved or are in some form of the approval process today. You can see Hodges Reserve just to the north, which does access Dewey Robbins. Our project, which also accesses Dewey Robbins, the Lake Cove PUD. Leiden-Nicholson, which is approved but is currently going through the process to amend their development program to lower their development program. And then Whispering Hills up to the north, which accesses just US 27, doesn't actually come all the way south to Dewey Robbins. A project you'll see later tonight, which is Bar Key Groves. Accesses US 27 and Dewey Robbins Road. So there is undeniably a lot going on in this area. Before we go into the concept plan, one map that didn't make it into Candy's presentation is the Topo Map, and I wanted to show this to you just to kind of give you a picture of how striking this site actually is. It actually from the southeast corner of the site down to the pond, there's actually over 100 feet of fall. So there is a lot of topo involved in this site, which actually gets to some of the details of the concept plan and how we came up with this concept plan. And just as a quick note, there is a power easement that cuts through the very northeastern corner of the site. And that is actually where there is a break in the topo. So everything from the west of this line flows, and everything else in the project flows to this central pond, and this one little corner actually flows to the northeast. So this is the concept plan proposed as part of the PD. As we said, it's 133 acres, and overall, including the 391 units, would pencil out to 2.9 units per acre overall, gross acre. We're proposing all single-family detached homes on 50-foot lots, and we learned our lesson from the Hodges project to the north, where that originally was a mixture of 40s and 50s and 60s, and because of pushback from this commission and the city commission, that was all the 40s were removed from that plan, and same situation here. We've removed all the 40-foot lots and replaced with just 50-foot lots. They're all told, when you add up all the amenities, park space, open space, the central pond, the buffer areas, it's actually about 56 acres of open space, as I said, including the recreation. So a huge percentage of the site is in open space. There are two entrances off of Dewey Robbins proposed, one on the far west and one on the far east that actually crosses over the power easement. There's a minimum 25-foot perimeter buffer, which in many places it exceeds that just because of the topo. And the central pond, as you saw, there is a pond there that has been used for agricultural purposes for many years. That's actually going to be expanded for both the floodplain and the stormwater for the site. So you'll notice that the site plan takes kind of a form of several concentric rings, and that's actually due to the incredible fall across the property from the east to the west and from the north to the south. So there's actually a series of concentric roads that then have buffers in between the backs of the lots where the grade is actually changed, because the house has to be more or less level on a level pad, and so we have to make up that grade inside these terrace areas. So you actually kind of get this really interesting terrace effect inside the bowl of the site, and it actually lends to a very striking plan. The central amenity is located here, right off the main road, looking into the pond area with a perimeter trail. And there are a number of ideas for trails for all of these streets to be able to access down to the amenity area through a series of linear park spaces. You can see one linear park space here, and what you'll see on the plan is labeled retention park. This is a realization that the site is so high and dry, and the stormwater that would actually be collected will infiltrate so quickly that the vast majority of the time these locations will be high and dry. And so there's no reason why we can't repurpose them as amenity and park spaces for the community. So they will be designed both as stormwater and as amenity areas, and we'll have a series of trails and other design features added into them to amenitize them. And they are kind of scattered through the development. And those two will actually be on a kind of a terrace type design because of the slope of the site. The units have to be terraced, so the stormwater also have to be terraced. So the retention would essentially kind of run kind of horizontally along the street into the ponds that can then kind of cascade down into the main stormwater area in the pond. Just just kind of highlighting the open space plan. As we said, a huge percentage of the site is actually considered open space. You can see all the dark green areas. These are the buffers and the gray transition areas and other miscellaneous open spaces. The parks are highlighted, the linear parks you can see, and they are designed in conjunction with the retention parks and then the pond down at the bottom. Landscape buffers are shown around the perimeter. So all told, I said there were 56 acres of parks and open space. Conceptual phasing would look something like this. The phasing would start on the western half of the site, which would include the main amenity and the park all the way around the pond. The second phase would proceed around the bottom half of the site into phase 2, and then phase 3 would finish out with the second entrance up in the northeast. Proposed home elevations, as I said, these are all proposed to be 50-foot lots. So we've provided a number of typical 50-foot homes that would be on a 50-foot lot. And the Amenity Center, as you know, always includes a pool, a cabana or pool house, as well as a tot lot and adjacent parking. Traffic is, yep, Iman's here. He's going to talk a little bit about traffic. Thank goodness I don't have to talk about that.
Good evening. My name is Ayman Saidi. I'm with Traffic and Mobility Consultants, 3101 McGuire Boulevard, Orlando, Florida. So we are currently in the process of performing the traffic impact analysis required by the city for the project. It's currently under review, the methodology stage, but while the results are still in the works, we did some preliminary analysis for Dewey Robbins specifically, knowing having the Anthony project and the Hodges across the street, and looking at the available, the existing traffic on the road today, and then the traffic generated by Anthony project and Hodges, that the two developments will have about 52% of the capacity of the road available after these two projects are developed, so that there's still capacity to handle the remaining developments that are coming up in the future. And as I said, we're still in the process with the city and traffic analysis.
So I want to take a little bit of time and talk about the PUD conditions in the draft that was circulated to you earlier. And I wanted to point out a number of items we would like to bring up. As Dan did mention, the draft that was circulated to you has a minimum lot size of 50 by 120, and we had previously discussed with staff of a lot size of 50 by 110. And we just wanted to make sure that that was part of the recommendation, was that the minimum lot size should be 50 by 110, not 50 by 120, and that would constitute a 5,500 square foot minimum lot instead of a 6,000 square foot minimum lot. The next one is in regard to gutters. As we have committed on other projects before this board, in cases where there are 50-foot lots that have narrow side setbacks, such as 5 feet in this case, where there are lots that do have a home with a 5-foot setback, we do agree that gutters are desirable in those cases, and we do agree to put gutters on those sides, but in the front and the rear, we don't believe those are always necessary, given that the setbacks there are much greater. The PUD conditions state on all 4 sides, and we would request that be changed to just the sides, and only in cases where there is a 5-foot setback. In item 6D, there is mention of a split rail wooden fence being the key word there, required along Dewey Robbins Road. We are happy with a split rail type fence, but we would propose that a white vinyl fence be used instead. It will look good longer and be easier to maintain in the long run, as opposed to a wooden split rail fence that would have to be painted very often to maintain the same, the same good condition. Also in 6D, there's a solid vinyl perimeter fence requirement, and we would request that condition also be removed. We've worked with neighbors in the past, both here and in other jurisdictions, where there were perceived compatibility concerns, and we have used vinyl fencing in some cases, but we don't believe that those same conditions exist on this site. And we would like the option to use other types of fencing or just the landscape perimeter buffer as the negotiations between the neighbors and the developer commence. And then lastly, item 13B references an ADA compliant trail around the pond. This would be the main central pond at the heart of the project. We are showing a trail around the pond, but we would prefer the flexibility to use other types of materials besides an ADA compliant concrete sidewalk. So if it needs to be mulch, or if it needs to be decomposed granite, or some other material that is also acceptable, we would prefer to have that flexibility. And that is the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, the team and the owner are here to address them.
Yeah, put the conditions back up, please.
Sure.
Just leave them there.
I have a quick question, and I'm sure it's been addressed, but I'm just making sure. You showed in the one drawing that in the northeast corner that the flow was going northeast.
Yep.
Is that going to be retained? Any kind of waters that come off that? Flowing into the other?
That today is it's a power easement.
Right.
So the only thing in there would be the new road. If Tony is here, if he wants to address that.
I just want to make sure water from your property doesn't go into somebody.
Absolutely. Yep. That's why we invite him to these meetings, so that I don't have to answer those questions either.
How y'all doing?
Yeah.
I'm Tony Reddick. I'm with GAI Consultants, 618 East South Street, Orlando. Yes, any drainage that's got impervious area, roadway, or anything like that will be captured in a pond. Any off-site flows will be treated or kept on our site as much as possible.
All right. I just didn't see any retention up in that corner, so.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a concept plan. Sometimes they get real creative.
It's also a very small.
I figured it'd be handled.
It's a small area, so I don't think it'll be a problem to make sure it's accommodated.
Any other questions by the commission?
Dan, I assume on the Lake County memo,
Yes, sir.
the internal activity on page 2 was noted issue to them. They want to connect it along Sleepy Hollow and Sunnyside.
Okay, I'll let them know. I'll let them know that.
I don't see how that's viable.
Yeah, that.
No.
We did have a case.
No, I don't.
I think it was
That'd
last
be
month.
really over, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, being that they're 20 miles apart, or.
So what happens when you cut and paste?
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Question, staff.
Yes.
How do you feel about the changes to the PUD?
Looking at these changes, Commissioner, under 4D1, we did, Andrew and Ben did speak correctly. We did talk about the lot size. That was my typo. I don't have a problem with that. On 4E2 for the gutters, the issue there is recent experience the city has had in terms of gutters. And we feel like anything that does not have at least a 7.5 setback should have a gutter. If they're in a situation where they have a lot that has a 7.5 setback or larger on the side, I don't have a problem with it. It's the old argument between, 50
I'm talking about the
and
back and the front.
the back and the front.
Wouldn't it depend on the roof line? I mean, if it's an open
does
gable or
depend.
if it's a hip roof?
It does depend on the roof line, and
Yeah.
we would not expect them to be, where the design does not allow for that. The grading has to be done properly, and when you have a 5-foot setback, it becomes really hard to grade it well enough to create that swale that allows the water to flow.
Again, I'm talking about the front and back.
And on the front and the back, I'm not as concerned about.
So you only need 2 sides.
Well, anytime there's a design that allows water to flow off, it's got to be graded correctly, or you have a problem.
Yeah.
And staff can live without the front and the rear as long as the sides are protected at anything that is smaller than a 7.5. Well, it's 7.5 foot setback. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's already been
we
addressed.
we need that.
Yeah.
We need that. So I can live with. The biggest concern is recent issues we've had in 2 other subdivisions that had smaller lots, and we don't want a repeat of that. And I know that these guys will be very careful about their grading, but it came to light, and it's not been pleasant for the people living there. We don't want a repeat of that. So staff's recommendation would be if it's got a 5-foot setback, it's got to have the gutters on the side.
Right. I'm just that's already been understood.
Okay.
I'm still just addressing the front and the back.
Where
You had the way it's written is 4 sides.
I see what you mean. Yes, sir. I don't have a problem with deleting the front and rear as long as the sides are protected. Sorry.
That's what I said.
Sorry.
Okay.
Well, with a hip roof, though, you need it all the way around. There's not there's water. You're talking about it falling here or falling right here.
That's the concern we have, is if the design allows water to flow. I mean, the house I live in, the roof comes down, so the water rolls off the front and the back and not off the sides. Therefore,
won't building department address that when the plans are submitted?
we don't have a specific code on it right now. I do expect one to come, which would impact a lot of existing PUDs. So whether it's in here, it's coming. Whether it's in this PUD or not, I do expect an ordinance to be brought forth in the next few months that would address anything that has that style of roof, angle.
That's the point.
And that's the point, yes, sir.
If you do a hip roof, I think you need it all the way around. If you have a gabled roof, I would think you could dodge that bullet.
So how do we address that, though, if it's
Mandatory with a hip roof.
We can make the wording, we can play with the wording and make sure that it's correct and it works.
okay.
And we can utilize these elevations.
It's like this house to the left with the open gable. There's no way you can put a gutter on that. So, I mean, that's self-explanatory. But the one on the right, you need to have gutter all the way around.
The top left would need sides, the others probably need some front gutters.
Yes. All right, now back to the conditions up there, if you don't mind.
Yep.
The trail around the pond, and when you mention a mulch trail, that concerns me with water flow and washout, and there is a lot of flow on that property. And I would think a little more permanent. I think mulch is getting a little too slack.
Ben Schneider, 605 with Hanover Land Company. 605.
You're still not very pretty.
I agree. 605 Commonwealth Avenue, Orlando 32803. We use, if we're going to use actual wood mulch, we use non-floating wood mulch. The water that will be coming down towards the retention pond doesn't sheet flow over the top of the ground and therefore sheet flow over the mulch path. It'll go through pipes that are designed to handle the stormwater. So
I don't buy that. I don't buy it. And it's non-floating mulch.
We do. We use used to have a real issue with that issue, and when we were using pine bark mulch, and we use non-floating cypress mulch, and it stays put much better. I mean, if you have a hurricane come across it, it's going to sheet flow out.
Have a washout.
And under normal circumstances, it stays put much, much better than pine bark mulch.
What's the matter with a permanent trail around the lake?
We're not trying to build a asphalt or concrete trail around kind of a nature preservation area. We'd rather have a more rural, rustic kind of looking nature trail around a nature preservation area, as opposed to a bunch of concrete, bunch of asphalt.
So what about people with special needs if they want to go around? I mean, how will they access it?
Well, there are a lot of sidewalks that will be accessible. I mean, that trail would be difficult unless you have a off-road wheelchair or something, which exists.
Point well taken, Commissioner.
So.
Mr. Chair, just a suggestion, if we were to word it in such a manner that ADA compliance is required, the recreational areas must be compliant with ADA where applicable under the Americans with Disability Act. I mean, some kind of wording that says where it's required, because it's, whether we put it in the PUD or not, it's still legally required.
Right.
But I think the effort that everyone is trying to achieve is what has to be ADA under the law has to be ADA. And if the trail has to be, then it has to be. If it does not, it does not.
It's not a trail.
And it's not. So we could word it in such a way that I believe would resolve everyone's concerns by saying where ADA compliance is required.
I could live with that.
You know.
Dan, do you have any other issues with any of these conditions?
The fences, I think the neighbors would probably want to speak to. I'd like to hear what they say. I don't really have any major issues on it. The split rail was just trying to keep as a better feel for it out there.
That's more of a landscaping type fence.
Yes, sir, but it from a pure planning standpoint, whether it's split rail or solid vinyl, 6 one, half dozen the other. We just try to keep the feel, but we don't want to over restrict, don't want to under restrict. So
on the fence, can I just add one comment? We had not proposed a fence around the project because we thought that a natural vegetative buffer was a better transition from residential to our neighbors as opposed to surrounding the entire project with a plastic fence of some sort.
Talking perimeter?
Yes, sir. The perimeter. We're fine doing the. I mean, if y'all said no, we absolutely want a wood fence along Dewey Robbins, and we want that look. I mean, we'd say fine. You know, we don't think it's the greatest idea, but we think surrounding the project with a plastic fence is not a particularly good look. Either a split rail or 6-foot PVC. But, you know, and I think the fence along Dewey Robbins, if we do it split rail with PVC, it'll look better longer. But that's.
Anything else you have, Daniel?
no, sir.
So we got the issue with the gutters, and we got the issue with the trail around the lake.
Didn't we resolve those?
Beg your pardon?
Didn't we resolve those with the wording Dan proposed?
Yeah, with the American Disabilities
Yes, sir.
approval, yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, we want old people like us to be able to walk around that lake.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Yeah.
And on the gutters, it would be on hip roofs or anything less with a five.
Hip roofs mandatory, open gable sides. Is the commission in agreement with that?
Yes.
John, you in agreement with that? You're the contractor here.
Well, yes, I mean, hip is a horizontal fascia, so I'd say any horizontal fascia would require gutter.
That's a better description.
Horizontal fascia, i.e. hip roof, hip.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably better nomenclature.
What does that mean?
Exactly.
Can you spell nomenclature?
Better described.
I understand. We have to have a little humor in these meetings. Any more discussion?
Some are games by themselves.
I see him back there. Sir, you have a question? And have you been sworn in?
I have been sworn in.
Come here, introduce yourself, and tell us where you live, sir.
Excuse me, my name's Dan Fay. Excuse me.
And where do you live, sir?
I'm right next to it. So I am the neighbor.
Give me an address, please.
7800 Dewey Robbins.
Thank you.
Howie in the Hills. So, the fence issue. Our house is the length of this room this way, away from where they're going. We're talking. Sorry about that. We're talking vegetation is probably fine, tall enough vegetation. Also, regarding the washouts, you should see our driveway. Our driveway is 800 feet long, washes out continuously. You're going to need to address that pavement area. There is a large number of Gopher Tortoises in that area, so they'll have to be addressed. We know it's going to be developed. We're not opposed to it.
Okay. Good luck with your driveway, sir.
It's a little over. It's a little overpopulated for what I was hoping for. So, okay. I mean, there's 300 houses coming in there. There's 3,000 houses coming up over just on the north side of the lake.
We understand, sir.
Plus
we see it all.
So
it's amazing.
The other spot you're going to have is the visual line of sight. Can you go back to the map? Where it shows the entrance coming out. So yes, do you have the closer one?
Yeah, right
there. You go. So my house is on the right where this. I don't have a pointer, but right where that red line is. Correct. That's my house.
Okay.
So from there to the road is 800 feet, and I think it's a 60-foot drop, 40-foot drop, and there's a significant. That's where you're going to get your washout. The top right corner where the road meets, it's a blind spot. You got a crest of the hill right there. Right. You're gonna have a lot of trouble with that because from my driveway, I can't see Turkey Lake.
Yeah, okay. DOT is going to have to handle that. That's for sure.
And then what were the other things with it? Turtle Hill Crest. Oh, that whole place is sand. Everything's going to wash out if you don't have enough gutters to it. Yeah. Our barn has a continuous problem with washing out, so that really needs to be important for them. There isn't a place noted where a kid could play baseball. I don't know. Okay. I know there's 53 acres, I think you said, of parkland, but it's not combined. So.
All right. Anything else, sir?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Thank you very much for your input.
And it'll be the county, not DOT.
Right.
Just a quick comment. The county did note that there would be a site distance analysis required. So if there's a problem out there, they will not let that entrance go at that location. It'll have to shift.
I can understand.
But I appreciate the point.
All right. I'm going to close it.
No, there's still more.
Ma'am, come on. Have you been sworn in? Yeah. Please come up and introduce yourself and tell us where you live. We promise we won't come and knock on your door.
No. I'm Mary Lamaro. My address is 201 Jean Street in Tavares. I have the property right across from the development. And I'm the one that said you can't have the, so having it up on the hill the entrance on the hill, that's much better. You can't have it because you've got a hill going up, it's a blind hill, and then like he said, there's a blind dip going down. The only thing I can see, and I know you say it's DOT's problem, but you're going to have to do something at Turkey Lake because you're going to have people pulling out there, and then you got these people over here. You're going to have a major problem. People coming out of Turkey Lake, you can't see. So I'm fine with the vinyl fence. I don't want to see your houses. And I think that's all I need to say. So.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Anyone else in the audience have a comment? Any questions amongst the commission? Any questions of staff?
I got a quick question.
Go right ahead.
The development that Hanover's built on the other side of the Robbins, is it a similar size? I wasn't at that time. Are the lot sizes similar?
The lot sizes on this one are larger.
These are larger.
The one across the street actually has a large percentage of 40-foot lots, and Andrew, conveyed earlier that this one was the same lot programming earlier, where it was 50-foot around the perimeter and then all 40-foot interior. And Dan said, the commission, the city commission and planning commission said that you don't want to see any more 40-foot lots. So
that's very true.
We said yes, sir, and we changed them all to 50s.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Y'all don't stumble all over yourselves.
I'll make a motion to approve LSCP 22-267.
I have a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
I second it.
I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman?
With those
Yes,
That's with the changes on the lot size.
And the gutters and the trail.
And the trail.
AD.
wording. Got it.
Handicap accessible.
Thank you, sir.
And moving along to 22268.
Make a motion to approve PUD 22-268.
Have a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
I second that.
I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're almost halfway done, guys. Public hearing case. Large-scale comp plan amendment 22273 Treasure Trove.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For LSCP 22-273 Treasures Trove, the large-scale comp plan map amendment, and PUD 22-274 Treasures Trove PUD zoning. Again, we have the two cases. With your permission, we'll move forward in the same manner as previously.
Please.
By background, this property is generally located west of County Road 44 and south of East Treasure Island Avenue. Consists of approximately 55 plus or minus acres. First request is to amend the comprehensive plan future land use designation of the property from Lake County Rural Transition to City of Leesburg Estate Residential. And then the second request would be changing the zoning on this property from Lake County Agriculture to City of Leesburg PUD Planned Unit Development. The request is to allow for detached single-family development. Candy Harper with the office will present the maps at this time, including aerial zoning, future land use, surrounding land use, wetlands, and flood zone maps.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. The map in front of you places the property south of Treasure Island, south of East Treasure Island Avenue, and immediately west of County Road 44, north of Cemetery, if that helps anyone. And the zoning around it, you can see city zoning of planned unit development, which is this is going to be a planned unit development as well, should it be annexed into the city. Lake County zoning shows I can't read that, Diane, can you?
That's agriculture, yes.
It could be agriculture all the way around it.
Yeah, agriculture.
Our printers have changed and the colors shift, and I can't tell what they are. So the proposed zoning is future planned unit development. And you can see the future land use around it is also, well, there's Orange Bend to the north, which is a mixed-use development, and residential or estate residential in the city. You can see in green around it as well. And the county's future land use is rural transition, I believe, from what I can see. Yes, rural transition. But there's also rural around it and urban low density, as well as a bit of regional commercial. The proposed future land use is estate residential. The surrounding existing land uses are residential, a little bit of utility, and a little bit of agriculture. You see that it does have some flood issues they'll have to deal with in their grading and build above the floodplain. And the wetlands are pretty significant. They'll have to stay out of those. Should it be accepted into the city, annexed into the city, it will be in Commission District 1. And we did post signs. It was bounded on 2 roads. So the first picture is showing the posting of the property, and we're looking south into the property from East Treasure Island. The picture on the bottom is looking west on East Treasure Island Avenue. Picture on the top is looking north across East Treasure Island Avenue, and the picture on the bottom is looking south. Then we went around the corner and took and posted again on County Road 44. So the picture on the top is shooting west into the property from County Road 44. The picture on the bottom is looking north along County Road 44. And the picture on the top shows you the utility complex across the street. It's looking east on County Road 44 from the property. And the picture on the bottom is looking south along County Road 44. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Candy. With that, we'll move to the departmental review summary. Project was sent out to all the city departments, along with Lake County government and school board. There were no substantive comments from the departments. Lake County School Board noted that this residential project is subject to concurrency review for the schools, and Lake County Public Works indicated for Treasure Trove some comments similar to the previous. They did note the access location off of East Treasure Island Avenue would need to meet Lake County access management requirements separation from the CR 44 intersection, which is a standard comment. Noted that the westbound left turn lane on East Treasure Island Avenue, a westbound left turn lane would be required at the entrance that comes off of East Treasure Island Avenue. There would be a sidewalk and trail required along East Treasure Island Avenue to meet city and county standards. They noted East Treasure Island Avenue currently is a 20-foot wide roadway with 10-foot lanes. The development would be required to widen the road to accommodate 12-foot lanes. Additional road requirements may be required and will be further analyzed under future development applications. They noted along County Road 44, a separate entrance is proposed on the PUD concept plan, which is directly off of County Road 44. Their concern is that access may not meet the access management ordinance for the classification of the roadway and the current speed limit. Roadways have larger widths of distances between access points, the higher the speed limit, and for safety reasons. So they want to have further discussion with the city and the developer to ensure that those requirements are met. And then a sidewalk/trail would also be required along County Road 44. And those are the major comments that Lake County had. like to go over the two recommendations and then talk briefly about the PUD, Mr. Chairman. For Treasure Trove Project, Large-Scale Comp Plan 22-273, the Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval of the request for the following reasons. The project meets the requirements of Chapter 163.3184 Florida statutes for comprehensive plan amendments. 2, the proposed request, as conditioned in the City of Leesburg case number PUD 22-274, is compatible with the adjacent future land use designations of City of Leesburg Estate Residential and with Lake County designations of urban low density, rural, and rural transition. 3, the proposed request as conditioned in the City of Leesburg case number PUD 22-274 is compatible with the current surrounding zoning districts of City of Leesburg PUD and with Lake County districts of Planned Commercial and Community Facility District and their A Agriculture District. The proposed future land use designation for the site is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element goal 1, objective 1.6. The action requested is vote to approve this large-scale comp plan amendment designation from Lake County Rural Transition to City of Leesburg Estate Residential and forward this recommendation to the City Commission for their consideration. For the Treasure Trove case number PUD 22-274, the rezoning component of this project, the Planning and Zoning Division recommends approval of the request for the following reasons. 1, the project meets the requirements of Chapter 163. Excuse me, that one shouldn't even be in there. That's my error. Should have been deleted. Number 2, the proposed request as conditioned in City of Leesburg case number PUD 22-274 is compatible with the adjacent future land use designations of City of Leesburg Estate Residential with Lake County designations of regional, commercial, urban, low density, rural transition, and rural. Number 3, the proposed request as conditioned in City of Leesburg case number PUD 22-274 is compatible with the current surrounding zoning districts of Leesburg PUD and with Lake County districts CP, which is planned commercial, CFD, which is community facilities, and A, which is agriculture. 4, the proposed plan, the proposed future land use designation, the proposed zoning designation for the site is consistent with the proposed future land use category for the property. The action requested is vote to approve from Lake County, the rezoning from Lake County A Agriculture to City of Leesburg PUD, Plan Unit Development, and forward the recommendation to the City Commission for their consideration. Mr. Chairman, in looking at this particular development, and to describe the PUD, we're talking about an overall 55.45 acres plus or minus at 155 units. That would give you 50 by 120 lots at 6,000 square feet and 60 by 120 lots at 7,200 square feet. Works out to 2.8 units per acre. Again, 35% open space. The setbacks would run along at 25, 18, and 5, single-family uses only. Under design and architectural standards, we have design standards for all homes, dark sky lighting that we've talked about earlier in this meeting, and again, gutters around all 4 sides, which we probably should amend that wording in this one as well, for lots smaller than 60 feet. We're not finding the problem on lots 60 feet and up. And generally it's just that 5-foot setback, and most of those start at the 50-foot level. So, and then of course 25-foot buffer around the entire property, trees in each yard. The wetlands are protected should there be much wetlands. I believe there's some. And the irrigation controls for Florida-friendly landscaping, and again, no St. Augustine grass. There is a recreational area of about 3/4 of an acre. We do have representatives here, I believe, to talk about this project, so staff is requesting your approval, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And is there someone here representing the project? Yes, sir. Do you have anything you wanted to add?
Just a couple of questions on some wording.
Okay.
My name is Gary Beverly. I'm with Civil Design Solutions. Drone Hennon, the developer, unfortunately has got COVID and was not able to attend. We found out that the meeting was happening about 3 o'clock today, so we hurried through some of the comments and try and do our best here. The main thing that I was wanting to see if we can make sure that is amended in everybody's understanding is the split rail fence and also the buffer. How it's worded on the in the documents is that it's for the entire perimeter of the property. We have some areas that we're not developing, the wetland areas and so forth, so we just like it changed to the buffer, and the split rail fence will be for the developable area that's for the perimeter.
Would you repeat that, Gary, one more time, please?
Okay.
On that, I want to be sure I heard you correctly.
The split rail fence. And
that's in section 6D?
Yes, 6D.
Okay.
It says in the first sentence there, the entire perimeter of the property.
Yes, sir.
It'd like to be the developable area of, of the property.
That makes logical sense.
And then also in 6B, it also says the same thing for the buffer. Other than that, we look forward to working with staff and working out any of the design issues when we get to those points.
Commission have any issues with those amendments? We have people here in the audience that would like to speak on this, I guess. I've got 6 people want to speak. Is there a spokesman for one or none? Okay, we'll start with Lorraine Davey.
Good evening, folks. I will try to keep it brief.
Thank you.
But I'm a teacher, so sorry. I left South Florida. My name is Lorraine Davey. I reside at 8940 East Treasure Island Ave. I left South Florida because of the traffic and the congestion. I wanted rural. I found that in Leesburg, at least for now.
Yes,
I teach at Treadway Elementary. And when I leave my street, I'm just going to crack up here, so don't mind me. When I leave my street and take a left during rush hour, I take my life in my own hands. And when I turn and I see those crosses on the corner from the other gentleman who lost his life, gives me some patience, and I wait. My property right now is quite wet with all the rain. I wear rubber boots to get in and out, but that's okay. I want a rural. I'm good with that. But hip waders, I can't. As you can see from this image, the wetlands are tremendous in that area. Eimer's going to speak to the pond that's right by our street, East Treasure Island Avenue. There's another pond on the property. They're going to fill that too. The infrastructure is not adequate out there. We're agriculture. We're rural. We want to stay like that. It's just going to make a detrimental impact in all regards.
Okay.
Thank you much
Thank
for your
you,
time.
ma'am.
And I made it without sobbing.
You did good. You did good. Anyone else wants to speak on the issue? And again, when we have quite a few, if you have a new issue, if it's different than what's been mentioned, we'd like to hear it. But if it's the same thing, please, sir, identify yourself.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, or good evening now.
Yes, sir.
I'm Larry Mott, 8700 East Treasure Island Avenue. I am not anti-growth. I'm in the industry, as most of you know. My issue is the traffic. I understand that you guys can't control the traffic, but it has to be taken into serious consideration to the fact that their entrance onto 44, I have seen multiple people dead from turning into Treasure Island Road and turning off of Treasure Island Avenue. The traffic is just horrendous. Passing zones, people pass in no passing zones, and here we're going to add an enormous amount of traffic. The 44 is not wide enough to add 2 turning lanes on their entrance onto 44. I know that's been addressed. Mr. Miller addressed that a little bit, and I want to address on Treasure Island Avenue. Treasure Island Avenue is a substandard road. It is not. When I moved there 47 years ago, it was a dirt road. They came in and oiled and chipped the road, and then they came in and asphalted. So there is no subbase underneath that asphalt. So if they intend to use Treasure Island Avenue, they need to be, that has to be brought to state standards. Or that's my understanding anyhow. And as far as the wetlands and stuff, I think probably by them forcing more into the wetlands, closer to the wetlands and stuff, it's going to push the water and stuff away adjacent back into the west and south units. I don't know if St. John's River Water has been contacted with this or if they've had any work in it. They have, Mr. Miller?
Yes,
okay.
sir.
I didn't know because I know they're pretty damn tough, St. John's.
Yes, sir.
Other than that, I was very glad to hear that it's less than 3 units per acre and stuff, but the traffic is the main thing. I don't know if all of you have seen or not, but there's the subdivision on Radio Road, and there's another one just up the road right there close to the cutoff road. I don't know if anyone knows the state plans for Highway 44. Is there any contingency plan for the future on 44? Do we know, Mr. Miller, or no?
We work with Lake County on that. I haven't specifically heard of anything, but I believe that there is. So in other words, I can't give you a straight answer, Larry.
See, one time I asked about a few years back, and they said that they had not any intentions for 18 years.
And I think with what is going on in Leesburg, all over Leesburg, they're going to change their minds. They're going to have to. I don't believe that that's going to be an issue that they can just...
And I just, I'll finish by stating... Okay, thanks, Dave.
Yes, sir.
I'll finish by stating, you gentlemen and ladies have the opportunity to control this now. You know, we don't want to put a bunch of houses in and then try to do our infrastructure, our roads and stuff. I mean, 44 right now, if you, like Lorene said, when you get out there to try to get onto 44 in the morning, well, I leave the house usually around 5:15 or 5:30. Traffic is almost bumper to bumper that time in the morning. At 8 o'clock, forget it. You know, if you got to be to work at 9 and you leave at 8, your chances aren't good of making it to work on time. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your information. Anyone else want to speak on this issue? Please step forward.
Hi, my name is Lisa Hayden. I live at 35121 Dennis Road. It's just by that little bump over at the top corner.
Okay.
So there's a few things I just want to go over. I'm not going to belabor them. Right now, there is existing approximately 544 houses being built in 3 miles of that area. Additionally, as was mentioned in the presentation, there's a PUD that's approved for 995 dwelling units. That's the Orange Bend PUD. So that PUD will expire again in 2031. So anytime anybody buys that, they have the go-ahead, the green light to put in 1,000 units. It's already been approved and it's been blessed by the city and the county. So there is an existing with the county, County Rural Growth Initiative. We did get some correspondence through one of the neighbors from Kirby Smith, who is the county commissioner, and he said that he is looking forward to working with the cities and has reached out to the Planning and Zoning Board and the Commission of Leesburg to work together for responsible growth to maintain the charm and the agricultural lands, as Laureen was saying, are so important to the people who live out there because that's what they wanted. The other day, just like 2 days ago, a large black bear was killed in front of Durstress, and that's, the other side, it's past 473, but still, these bears, as Laureen has many videos of bears on her property, this is important for us not to just obliterate their habitat. We have to consider that there is a significant amount of wildlife that we want to maintain. There are some people that may not be here today, but Dale Nichols, he lives at Mid Florida lakes, also on the other side of 473. And he said that last year, or I think it was last year, a semi-truck rear-ended him, and the attending police officer said, County Road 44 is a very dangerous road. And we know we're contributing to this, I saw somewhere that it says that the large-scale comprehensive plans, they have a 90-day review period, and I'm not sure how that starts at this point, but I think that it's time to maybe take a breath, like Larry said. Why keep building and then go, holy smoke, what did we do? We need to widen this road. We need to accommodate this. This is really a death trap for people getting in and out of these small rural roads. And I just want to see what else I have here. Yeah, eventually there's going to have to be some sort of buffer to compensate for the additional traffic on 44. And another problem is Laureen is the impetus for us knowing about this, because you get a letter in the mail if you're within 200 feet. So we're out there in a rural area. We have no idea. When do we know? We know when the bulldozers are taking the trees down, and then we're like, what? What's going on there? And then you start looking up the parcels. So there's no communication, and that's why I think we have 544 houses being built right now, because people didn't know until, like Larry said, until it's like a done deal. They were like getting in there. I think that's everything.
Okay,
and Maybelle Rodriguez, another neighbor, she wanted to say that she's definitely not for this, and you probably received other emails over the last couple of days.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I've personally been trying to get 44 four-laned from coast to coast, and that goes back to Joe Knowles trying to get Bob Grand to do it, and still haven't gotten a whole lot done, but still pushing for it. Yes, sir.
I certainly agree with Mr. Mott and my wife, Lisa Hayden. My name is Ray Hayden, and I live at 35121 Dennis Road as well. We're northwest of the property. Lorene is actually, she's right next to that swampy area, and that is swamp. And that bump right there is actually a swamp right there. They have to shut off 2 wetlands up there in that top left-hand corner. That bump is actually, the people, it's kind of ironic. The people live across the street, and then the house next to it actually own one half of a swamp, because the property line goes right through the swamp. The road actually just goes around the swamp. That's the only reason that curves there at all. That's a dangerous road right there. Constantly, it is a very thin road there. So it's even we live that way, it's very dangerous for us to come out. And of course, that intersection of 44 is kind of a death trap, and the crosses are there to bear that. Everybody touched on everything else I wanted to talk on. So ironically, somebody mentioned gopher tortoises. I didn't know what a gopher tortoise was. We're from Southeast Florida. I knew what a burrowing owl was, but I know what a gopher tortoise is now. And they each one of their dens, whether the tortoise is there or not, they made the den, and now they're gone. 350 to 400 species are living in those dwellings, and I actually have seen these things on the property. When I found the tortoise, I took some pictures of it, did some research online, and they have it. And they are a keystone species because they provide so much habitat for these other animals. Now there's 40 to 50 or 60 acres around us. We have 20. There's another 20 behind us, and a 10 that used to be part of our property that is it's being maintained people free. It's for the buffer of us. The people who live there moved there, like Lorene did. We also moved from the same county, Broward County. And I was a president of a homeowners association, and I'm an LCAM as well. And we moved out of there because we were sick and tired of that. And the only problem with this, and actually that looks quite nice, and I really didn't have a problem with it, and the unfortunate thing is where it's at. And again, just briefly, you have these 2 other properties that are very large right there. This other property is being built actually on wetlands, and I'm telling you, I've never seen golden eagles, I've never seen bald eagles, I've never seen those kite birds that fly around, I've never seen great horned owls, the barred owls. We have all these species, and a whole lot more. I'm constantly working outside on the property, and in our property, as our neighbors can attest to, I am actually terraforming that property specifically for the habitat of the Gopher Tortoises. I want to make it as nice as I can for them because they take care of so many other wildlife. And as I've learned from South Florida, if there's one thing I truly enjoy being around, it's the wildlife, not so much the people. Because with the people come more problems, and I can guarantee that. But anyway, so I just want to keep in mind that Florida does indeed care about the Gopher Tortoises. The Gopher Tortoises are taking care of so many other things, and everything else that everybody said about this.
Thank you, sir.
To kind of back off a little bit and say, hey, let's see how bad things are going before we make them worse.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Is there anyone else that'd like to speak? Again, if you can bring up something new, I'd appreciate it.
Gary Custer, 8909. I live right around that curve. Okay. East Treasure Island Avenue. I live on the other side of the swamp. But, you know, you show a nice line there with the water retention, but that water doesn't stop there. It looks really nice unless you're going to put up a seawall. That water doesn't stop there. Lorraine has to wade through water right now. If you do this, how's she going to get to her house? The road comes down there through her property. The other thing is 44 has power lines down both sides. The county says they can't widen that. They can't even put in turn lanes because there's not enough roadway to do that kind of stuff. That's what the county says. Mm-hmm. I own property on the other side of Haynes Creek. We ran into the same issue with the power lines. You know, you can't go underneath the power lines. You can't do this. That was Florida Power. Now it's Duke Energy. You couldn't do a whole lot of things because they weren't going to let it happen. They didn't want the responsibility. But Highway 44, like everybody said, is a death trap. And right now, you don't have any road to work with. There's no road there to work with, to widen, to make turn lanes, to make the road wider, any of those things. Thank you, sir.
Okay, one more. I see a gentleman back there in the back. He's coming up. I don't want to argue with him.
My name is Ima Robles.
What was your name, sir?
Ima Robles.
Thank you.
8916 East Treasure Island. I actually own that property right there that shares that pond with that development. I'm worried about the wetlands being filled. A day like today, some of this water is actually on my property, and it's actually so high today that it's almost on that road. So what's going to happen in the future when this property gets filled in? Also, I did talk to Fish and Wildlife when I first moved in about some of my wetlands to keep my livestock in. I was told I wasn't able to touch any of the trees, so I would like to know what the difference is between private ownership, not being able to touch these wetlands, but these companies are. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Is that got it? Thank you for, I'm going to close this public input down now, okay? Any discussion amongst the commission?
Do you want to address how the wetlands are?
Thank you, sir. You're correct. You can't touch the wetlands, period. It doesn't matter if it's private, public, whatever. Now, that being said, it is possible to fill in wetlands if you're willing to do mitigation. And this all comes from the state of Florida. 99.9% of the time, the mitigation is not worth it because if you fill in 1 acre of wetlands, the state can require you to create off-site somewhere else anywhere from 1 to 10 acres of new wetlands. I haven't seen anyone take up that challenge yet. But so, yes, it is possible to fill wetlands, but I haven't seen it be worth it yet. For example, if Walt Disney were to try to build Disneyland today, it'd never happen. Walt bought it cheap and filled it in, and there you have Disney. I mean, it's not quite that simple, but back then it was. Nowadays, you couldn't do it. And so the wetlands on this property will have to be identified by an engineer and staked out, and then there are requirements of a 25-foot buffer and of 50 feet from the nearest structure. Now, if there's a difference between wetlands and flood zones.
Right.
Flood zones are quite a bit different in that a flood zone area can be, you can raise the building, the finished floor elevation 18 inches above the flood zone, but when you do that, you then have to create what's called compensatory storage. And I'm not an engineer, so I don't want to be going too engineering-wise on it, but you have to create compensatory storage, which means you have to create a retention pond, and there are specific standards for those retention ponds, 24, 48, 72 hours. They have to take a certain amount of water within a certain amount of time. So if you have a big rainstorm, that, excepting hurricanes, of course, but you have the typical big rainstorms that we get all the time and that we've had recently, all that water has to be contained on site. It cannot go off site. The city of Leesburg's experience, and I've been here 19 years, we haven't had, from new development, we have not had any problems. There may be some minor ones here and there, but I'm not aware of any that have gone off-site. The city of Leesburg is very strict about that. The state of Florida, and as Mr. Mott noted, St. John's is tough. They're not playing when they come out to see you. They are actually coming out, I believe it's next week, to some developments around here to give them a little encouragement, we might say. So the wetlands have to be identified. They have to be protected. And if you see an issue where that is happening, then I would strongly recommend that you contact the city and the state immediately, because that's not a matter to play with. We get our clean water filters through those wetlands. I mean, it's very important. On a lot of the other issues, we agree. The traffic is bad out there. It's a serious matter. Lake County and the state of Florida, I'm sure, will have to work together eventually to do something about that road. It's not going to get any better. Today is as good as it's ever going to be. Tomorrow it's going to be a little worse and a little worse every day. Unfortunately, that's how traffic works in America. I would ask that you, as a citizen, be willing to work with their city or county and the state representatives and all to encourage that, because it's much needed. And the DOT has a 5-year work program that indicates where their priorities are, and it changes from year to year. It's not perfect, but the state does have that. As far as the staffs working together, the staff level, we work with Lake County Planning all the time. We're in communication all the time. That's how we got the comments back from Lake County. I do know that the elected officials have had 2 joint meetings down at, I believe it was both were at Venetian Gardens back, one in December 30th, and I forget, I want to say it was early February, but I can't remember for sure. Have had 2 joint meetings. Very difficult to control the market. As Americans, we live in this economy that, in a democracy, it's really hard to shut down that market. That becomes a real problem pretty quickly. On the matter of gopher tortoises, definitely agreed. Where they exist, the state does care about them. The state's very insistent upon it. The last number I heard, and I don't know if this is still accurate, it's over 2,000 each to locate them. So it could be quite a bit more than that by now. That's just, is it up to 4? Yeah, it just continues to go up and up. And there are specific, I don't know what you call it, relocation sites or farms or whatever, that they can be relocated to. You can't bury them anymore. Years ago, there was a bury permit, and you just buried them over. And that did happen. Let's see. I hope I'm covering everything. The big concern, though, was to your wetlands comment, sir, because that's important. Wetlands and the roadways. We do need to work together to put pressure on those who can make those decisions, and as far as the traffic goes. And on the wetlands, it's just that's something that the state doesn't play with. But the city has had very good experience with the engineers that have come in. They do the calculations and the depth of the ponds and the width and how much in the time periods. They have some sophisticated computations that will handle that, and the city's done real well with it. So,
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Any discussion amongst the commission? Any opinions, any thoughts? Go ahead, John.
Yeah, the roads, not only 44, Highway 27, all the roads are a huge concern for all the development that's being proposed in Lake County, which concerns many, many people, including me. The question on 44, if this development is approved with that site plan, it would almost appear like if the state needed to acquire more width right-of-way, it would be almost impossible with those houses backed up to 44. It appears that way to me. Mm-hmm. And at some point in time, this has got to happen. I don't know when it will, and I did have a conversation with, on another matter, but some other discussion came in with some 4 or 5 gentlemen with the Department of Transportation a couple of days ago on another issue. And I asked them, well, how do you guys get notified about needs and what's going on? And they say they do get the comments and the information from the cities and the people who are proposing developments, but the time lag appears to be very concerning. And it's just not Highway 44, Highway 27 is a nightmare going south.
Coming north, too.
And north, yes. So I got mixed feelings about any developments that are coming in Lake County that are fairly what I call high density, small lots, but that's beyond my capability to control that, most likely. But there's a question here, Ted.
Yes, I said.
A comment.
You have to come to the microphone, sir. Your question. Yeah.
I wanted to bring to the commission, we have planned with this layout here to actually enlarge the right-of-way area for 44, because we recognize that we'll have to do turn lanes and so forth. We're not blind or stupid, and we understand that there's some traffic issues out there that we'll have to deal with. And we're working with Lake County, the city, and DOT. Our design team will have to do an extensive traffic study for all the roads in our area and beyond, and whatever impacts that this project would have to do or puts onto other road surfaces, we'll have to deal with. Right. And at this level, it's not time for that traffic study to happen. This is just a concept plan. It's just thrown together with some good ideas, but it's not a concrete plan that we would come in for our plan development plan. We have to make sure that the traffic is dealt with, and so those studies and so forth happen at another level beyond what we're doing today.
Thank you, sir. Again, no, I've closed off public comment, and we've got to stop this. We've got 700 acres to deal with next, okay? So, John, I agree with what you're saying. The way that's being laid out, you know, 4-lane 44 isn't going to happen with that built there. It's just not going to happen. And you're going to have to come back to us, in my opinion, with a better plan. The water bothers me. It's, you know, that's a bayhead in there. I mean, that's Florida. And I realize St. John's is a tough nut to crack, and I don't see how you're going to get it through them. be perfectly honest with you. So in my opinion, the road 44, I've driven it many, many, many times. I've lived here for 89 years, and almost. Maybe it was 92 years, I don't remember, but I'm going to be opposed to your proposal for that particular reason. The road 44 needs to be 4-laned. There's passing zones, there's none that you can get away with. There's one short strip there you can pass, and that's where people die. So it's just my opinion. My vote is going to be a negative on this for those two reasons. Any other input? Okay, I'm going to call the question. Ask for a vote, a motion.
Mr. Chairman, case number LSCP 22273, I move to approve as presented.
Have a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed signify same sign. Aye. 4-2. Is that the correct? Mm-hmm. Moving right along to public hearing case PUD 274, Treasure Trove Plan Unit Development. No. That's
Make a
what we
motion to approve PUD 22-274.
Motion to approve?
Yeah.
I have a motion for approval. Do I hear a second?
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Aye. Okay. We're moving right along. You bet, guys. Okay. Public hearing case, large-scale comp plan amendment, LSCP 22288, Barkey Groves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
My old dove hunting area.
For just by way of background, this property is generally located east of U.S. Highway 27, south of Dewey Robbins Road, north of the Florida Turnpike. We'll get into the background with containing approximately 717 acres. The first case tonight, with your permission, we'll take both cases together and vote separately, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please.
And first case, an amendment to the comprehensive plan future land use map requesting a change from Lake County Rural Transition Rural and Regional Office to City of Leesburg Estate Residential. And then the second case is a request to change the zoning on approximately 717 acres of same property from Lake County A Agriculture to City of Leesburg PUD Plan Unit Development. Candy Harper, Senior Planner with the office, will present the maps and photo exhibits to include the aerial zoning, future land use, surrounding land use, wetlands, flood zone maps, and CRA maps.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. The map before you on the screen shows approximately 700 acres south of Dewey Robbins. It is contiguous to Highway 27. Next to it is the proposed Anthony and the approved Lake Co. North of it is getting close to Hodges, so this is becoming a developed area. The zoning you can see in brown is all planned unit development in the city of Leesburg, so this would become part of that. Lake County is rural or agricultural. My map went yellow. The printed version is yellow. This is agricultural land all around it. So the proposed zoning is a planned unit development. Future land use is not in the city of Leesburg just yet, but you'll see estate residential around it as well as general commercial. The future land use I can't read that either. It looks like rural transition all the way around it, and then with agriculture to the west.
That's correct.
Bumping up against Hodges. So the proposed future land use is estate residential. And the surrounding existing land uses are a mix of residential and agricultural, consisting of timber, groves, pasture, and then mixed residential. And it does butt up against Likes Nicholson, which is pretty good development that's housing and commercial, along with Lake Co., which is housing. You'll find flood zones on the site. They will have to build above the flood zone elevation for the area, and they'll have to build around the wetlands. And we did post the property. The top picture shows the posting, and that is looking east into the property from US 27. Picture on the bottom is looking south on US 27. The picture on the top is looking west on US Highway 27. The picture on the bottom is looking north on US Highway 27. And we also drove to Dewey Robbins Road where it abuts. So the picture on the top shows the posting, and this picture is taken from Dewey Robbins, shooting south from Dewey Robbins. The picture on the bottom is shooting west on Dewey Robbins from the property, from the posting. The next picture on top is looking north on Dewey Robbins Road, so immediately across the street. And the picture on the bottom is looking east on Dewey Robbins Road. That's all I have, Mr. Mull.
Thank you, Candy. Moving on to the departmental review summary. The project was sent out to all the city departments along with the Lake County School Board and Lake County Public Works. We did not receive any substantial comments from the city departments. The Lake County School Board noted that the residential portion of the project is subject to school concurrency review. The Lake County Public Works Department came back with similar comments previously, beginning with the development's access will need to line up with the Hodges Reserve PUD, both left and right turn lanes on Dewey Robbins at the development's proposed entrance. A site distance analysis will be required with future development applications for the proposed entrance off Dewey Robbins Road. A sidewalk trail will be required along Dewey Robbins Road. And let's see, there would be a review of the right-of-way for Dewey Robbins Road, and detailed surveys would be required along Dewey Robbins. Additional right-of-way along Dewey Robbins may be required, it says, to meet the minimum requirements for a collector road and to accommodate the offside road impacts. In addition, along Duncan Road, they stated development by the name of Lake Co. is proposed off Duncan, is a clay road that will be required to be improved. A sidewalk trail may be required along Duncan, and of course the standard remaining comments for stormwater studies and flood studies, which are done as a part of any development review. Those are the Lake County comments. Just a quick overview of the PUD as it sits before you. The 717 acres is the acreage, 1,700 units in the residential side, 140,000 square feet of commercial uses within the property, and 20 acres of institutional use. And when I say institutional, what we're talking about is government schools and hospitals, things of that nature. They have lot sizes that they're asking for are 45 by 115, which is 5,000 square feet, and 50 by 115, which is 5,750 square feet. It works out to 2.37 units per acre. The requirements as it sits in the PUD is 35% open space. Setbacks will be 25, 18, and 5. The uses are divided by pods, which you'll see in a moment in their presentation. There are design and architectural standards for all the homes and all the commercial construction. There's dark sky lighting required, gutters around all four sides of the houses on all the lots, and we can amend that as you choose. Additional parking is available at the end of the blocks. Okay, this is a little bit unique for Leesburg, but they're going to provide some. They're planning to provide some additional parking at the end of each block. Of course, the standard 25-foot buffer around the property, trees in each yard, wetlands protection, and no St. Augustine grass. And then a minimum 12 acres showing for recreation areas. I'd like to, if I may, Mr. Chairman,
please
go ahead with the two recommendations on this case. For Barkey Groves, LSC, case number LSCP 22-288, Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval of this request for the following reasons. One, the project meets the requirements of Chapter 163.3184 Florida statutes for comprehensive large-scale comp plan amendments. Two, the proposed future land use designation of estate residential as conditioned in PUD 22-289 is compatible with the current surrounding future land use categories of City of Leesburg estate residential and general commercial, and with Lake County categories of regional office, rural transition, urban low density, and rural. Three, the proposed future land use designation of City of Leesburg estate residential is compatible with the proposed zoning as conditioned in the PUD and does not appear to create a detriment to the adjacent zoning districts of City of Leesburg Plan Unit Development, Lake County Agriculture, Community Commercial, and PUD as well. Four, the proposed future land use designation for the site is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element goal 1, objective 1.6. The action requested is vote to approve the staff's recommendation to amend the city's future land use map designation on the subject property from Lake County Rural, Regional Office, and Rural to City of Leesburg Estate Residential and forward to the City Commission for their consideration. The recommendation for the PUD portion of this project, Barkey Groves PUD 22-289, Planning and Zoning Divisions recommending approval of this request for the following reasons. One, the proposed request is compatible with the current surrounding zoning districts of City of Leesburg PUD, Planned Unit Development, and with Lake County A Agriculture, PUD, which is also Planned Unit Development in the county, and County C2 Community Commercial. As conditioned, the proposed use does not appear to create a detriment to the surrounding properties. Two, the proposed zoning district of City of Leesburg PUD as conditioned and shown in the attached Exhibit A is compatible with the existing City of Leesburg future land use designations of estate residential and general commercial, and with Lake County Regional Office, urban low density, rural transition, and Lake County rural. Three, the rezoning of the subject property is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element goal 1, objective 1.6. The action requested is vote to approve the staff's recommendation to rezone the subject property from Lake County A Agriculture to City of Leesburg PUD Plan Unit Development and forward this recommendation to the City Commission for their consideration. Mr. Chairman, Ms. Cindy Terrapini of Terrapini Planning Strategies is here to make a presentation to the Commission. With that, staff is recommending approval. Okay.
Hello, I'm not Cindy Terrapini. I want to say hello and good evening to Mr. Bowersox and the gentlemen and ladies sitting on this board. And I'm here representing the Scales family on this presentation of our property, the Barkey Groves. We've had this property for a lot of years. The Scales family was in the citrus business. We had a big packing facility and shipped worldwide gift citrus to people.
We
for
know
Christmas
the Scales
gifts,
name.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
And we've been a part of this community for a lot of years. I personally am the dealer principal now of Key Scales Ford, and everybody knows we sold vehicles to many of the people sitting here. It was not easy for the family to decide to sell this property. We've had it in the family a lot of years, but a lot of developers came suiting for us. And we turned away a lot of them. A couple of them were actually in here tonight wanting our property. But I had a family friend, Mr. John Terrapini, who's worked in commercial real estate for years, close family friend from Tarpon Springs. And when you talk about development, and the people from South Florida talking, we want to come up here and not be crowded by people. Unfortunately, it happens in the state of Florida. Everybody wants to be in Florida. And no, I agree with John. We don't want to see it all developed, but the areas that are closer to the highways, they are the ideal places to be developed. Okay. Anyway, we decided to partner with NVR, which is the country's 4th largest home builder, to develop our property. And we feel like they're going to do a good job, and we wouldn't want it to be halfway done. We wanted to make sure it's good for the community, good for everybody. So I hope that we get a favorable decision by the board, and with that, I'm going to hand it over to Cindy.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Scales. Can you put our PowerPoint on?
You want to give her name and address? For
yes, that was Harriet Scales. What's your address, Harriet?
12379 Southeast Sunset Harbor Road, Houston. Apologize.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members. My name is Cindy Terrapini. I'm a land use planner. My address is 128 East Tarpon Avenue in Tarpon Springs, Florida. I represent NVR, who, as you've heard, is the contract purchaser of this property. I just would ask the attorney and the chairman, just as your staff presented the two cases together, I would ask for the courtesy to do the same thing. And then, of course, I recognize that you would do separate votes on that issue. But the cases are so linked together, I think you'll find it a more comprehensive presentation that way. You've already heard from Ms. Scales, the longtime owner of the Barkey property and the owner of Key Scales Ford. Harriet is also accompanied here tonight by her daughter, Alexandra Scales. But also with me are members of our team, including Jeff Porter, NVR, who, as Harriet mentioned, is a national builder for over 70 years and the 4th largest builder in the United States. Tom Daly is the project's landscape architect. Brett Tobias is the project's civil engineer. Our traffic engineer is Ayman Saidi, who is also here. And Biotech Consultants is the project's environmentalist, and they couldn't be with us because they had a conflict, but I can probably answer questions, most questions about that if you do have them. This project is ideally located at the intersection of US 27 and the Florida Turnpike. The northern boundary of this site is Dewey Robbins Road, and as you heard tonight on several cases, and you had a case this evening, and you're also aware of other cases you had very recently, this is an urbanizing area in the south part of the city of Leesburg. It's urbanizing because there's good traffic network there, and there are also facilities, sewer and water facilities available to the site, and this site and ours as well. The Leiden-Nicholson property is, does this have a light or no? I'm not sure. Whoops. Well, we'll go to the next slide, but the Leiden-Nicholson is immediately to the north of us and also on the west side of US 27 on both sides of Bridges Road, which is that road that dead ends into the site about the middle of our property. The Barkey site is located within the city's service area as evidenced by the interlocal service boundary agreement, which was approved in 2013. And what that means is we can only annex into the city of Leesburg, and we're happy to do that. Only the city of Leesburg can serve the property with facilities. Of the total 717-acre site, 531 acres are developable, and 186 acres are wetlands. So that's about 74% of the site as developable and 26% of the site as wetlands. And except for minor impacts as for roads as we go through the project, we do not anticipate major impacts to the wetlands. We understand their importance and will be preserving them and providing a wetland buffer around all of the wetlands. We do have 3 applications. The 2 you're hearing tonight are, of course, the plan amendment and the rezoning. Talk about future land use for just a minute. The lime green color you see to the north and to the west of us and now to the east of us on the Anthony property is the same plan category we're requesting, which is estate residential. It allows up to 4 units per acre. And of course, as your staff mentioned, we're at a little under 2.4 units per acre, so we're very consistent with that. The Leiden-Nicholson is the bright yellow on the west side of 27 and the red, so they have a low density, which is 8 units an acre, and then the commercial site. Of course, at the bottom of the property,
Excuse me, you said 8 units per acre?
the low density in Leiden-Nicholson is 8 units an acre.
Okay.
That's the yellow, the bright yellow you see to the west of our property on the west side of 27, and a little bit on the east side. So our 4 units per acre is entirely consistent with the plan categories you have in that area. We have provided, as part of the plan amendment, a detailed analysis that demonstrates we're consistent with your comprehensive plan. I'm just listing a few of those highlights of the policies that we're consistent with, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about that. This is the PUD Master Plan. The most striking thing, there's a couple of striking things about the master plan that you haven't seen in earlier projects, I don't believe. First is that the project is developed in villages, so the different colors are different villages with different lot sizes and different types of homes. The other thing you haven't seen in any of the projects you had tonight is that this is a true mixed-use development. We have a commercial site, which is right at the entrance along 27 and our entrance road, which is at Bridges Road and US 27. We also have an institutional site, and I'll show you a little more detail of that in a second, at the southern southwest corner of the property. It is adjacent to the turnpike, but obviously won't have access to the turnpike. It does have access via Best Orchid Lane. The light orange you see in this exhibit are the single-family lots, the light orange and the medium orange, and the really dark kind of a burnt orange. Those are the villa and townhouse products. Of course, the red is the commercial, and the institutional is gray. And I'll show you a close-up of those in a minute. We met several times with staff about the development, and we listened to their concerns, and we changed our plan as a result of those concerns, and we think their suggestions have made the project better. The other thing that I'm sure you all know, because you've been dealing with the plan unit developments for quite some time, is the value of a PUD. A PUD is what you see is what you get. It's valuable to the city because everyone knows exactly what that project is going to be. The exact uses are laid out. The number of uses are set out and approved specifically. It's also of value to the citizens and the people that live around it because they know what's approved and it can't be changed without going back through a review process. Let's just talk about a couple of the components of the project. Here is the commercial site. It's a 26-acre commercial site with a maximum of 140,000 square feet. We will have an entrance feature along at the 27 and Bridges Road intersection or interchange. And we also will have an entrance feature on the other road, Dewey Robbins Road. The green line you see that runs along the north edge of that commercial site is the main entrance road. It'll serve the commercial project, and then it will keep extending to the east to the residential project as it continues through the site. The institutional parcel that I talked about is a 20-acre piece, and that parcel could be churches, synagogues, schools, any kind of school, public, private, charter schools, governmental uses, parks, open spaces, and other similar community uses. Another really wonderful feature that we have proposed as part of the project is this interior loop road, and that's the dark red line you see. So it starts at 27, it circulates throughout the entire property, and then connects up to Dewey Robbins Road. And what this means is anyone who lives in this development can go on the loop road either by car or along the multi-use trail along that entire road and visit another village, someone in it that lives in a different area. And they can also get to the commercial area without having to go on to Dewey Robbins Road or US 27. So you remove all those traffic and that trips off of those roads and keep the project internal. One thing we would like to talk about when we get to the end is we are proposing an 8-foot multi-use trail on one side of the loop road and then a regular sidewalk on the other side. We would like for that to serve the golf cart requirement. We're hoping that that would be acceptable to this commission. We think that that 8-foot trail is a really good use, not just for recreational, but it's actually functions. People can walk and bike to wherever they would want to go. This is our secondary entrance. As you know, the comp plan requires a second entrance if you have more than 100 units, and clearly this will. The Dewey Robbins Road entrance will also have project entrance features, and the road itself will be a divided road with a landscape median, just as the main road at US 27 will be. We propose a variety of recreational activities and locations for the residents that will live in this development. The first is an Amenity Center, which is located right on Mulehead Lake. It will include a pool, a clubhouse, other activities to enjoy the lake along there. And of course, that can also be accessed via the interior loop road. It's a little hard to see, but the kind of the bright yellow-green dots are pocket parks. Every village will have its own pocket park or tot lot for just everyday recreational activities, and they'll be located, as I said, in every single village. I'd like to show you a few of the styles of development that we are proposing. We have a total of 11 different elevations at a minimum. These are the paired villas, which is the top one, and then the townhouses on the bottom. And we have 2 other styles in this type of development, 2 other elevation styles. And all of the styles of the elevations are all in your packet, but I just picked out a few to show you today. This is the 45-foot single-family home lot. Again, we have 1- and 2-story products, and we have 8 styles of these 1 and 2 stories. These are just 2 of the samples that would be built in this development. And this is the 50-foot single-family home lot. Again, a 1- and 2-story product in the 50-foot lot as well. I'd like to take just a minute to talk about 2 conditions that we'd like to work with your staff, to continue to work with your staff between now and the commission. One you've already talked about a good bit, which is the gutters. Although we have a 45-foot lot, the setbacks between, or the separation between those houses on that lot would be 15 feet. So we would like, again, to only do the gutters on the sides if the setbacks is 5 feet or less, which most of ours would be 7.5 feet each on each lot, 15 feet total. So we don't think that the gutters would be necessary on the sides. The front and rear, as we've talked about, they're going to flow onto the person's own property. So we, again, don't think that the gutters would be necessary too. We understand your conversation about the difference in the hip and the gable roof. If you wanted to make that condition as well to be consistent across all the projects, we would certainly understand that. The second condition that we just want to talk about a little bit was 12I. I referred to it earlier. The multi-use trail is 8 feet in width. It travels throughout the entire property on the interior loop road. We would hope that that would meet your requirement for a golf cart path. We believe it would, that the golf carts could share that path with bicyclists, pedestrians, and other activities. And also, I've seen a lot of people, at least in our community, are buying golf carts that are street legal. So they could actually drive on the road if they meet the requirements to be a vehicle in the state of Florida. This site, as Ms. Scales has mentioned, it's no longer viable for agricultural use due to all the changes in the citrus industry. It is in an area that is clearly an urbanizing area of South Leesburg. We think it's appropriate for it to transition into a residential and mixed-use community with commercial and institutional uses. It's been designed to create a vibrant, active, new community with a variety of housing types to attract a variety of residents. The loop road that we've talked about and the multi-use trail provides easy access between the villages and from the homes to the commercial site without going on that exterior road system. The recreational facilities will be created on the site so that folks don't have to leave their site to have recreational activities. They could, of course, do that, but we will have a variety of opportunities for them on the site. The city's confirmed there is capacity to serve this project, and sewer and water services are available to the site. The PUD as designed exceeds the required amount of open space. We exceed the amount of recreation areas required. We protect all the wetlands on the site except for some minor impacts for road construction. And we will comply with the stormwater retention requirements. We've met or exceeded all the city's requirements for the PUD, and we respectfully request your recommendation of approval. I would thank you very much for your time and attention today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. And also, if you have questions for our team, I'm sure they'd be happy to answer your questions as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions of this fine lady?
I do.
Go right ahead, John.
I might have missed it. How many are multifamily or duplex? How many units are going to be?
We have no multifamily units in the project. We have
Well, attached units, let's put it that way.
Yeah, of attached units, villas and townhouses together is about 28% of the project.
How many units are they?
Let me get the exact number for you, 1 second.
Villas and townhome lots, 462 of the 1,700.
Right.
Looks like the remainder is all single-family, coming out of the PUD.
Yeah, the villas in town is 482, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
482 units, so that's
Yes.
482 homes. And like I said, it's about 28% of the total project.
Thank you.
The trail that you're talking about,
Yes,
of
sir.
course, we discussed this earlier, is handicap accessible.
Yes, sir. We're not doing it in mulch, where it'll be paved or asphalt or concrete or something like that, but it'll solid material, yes.
I still have an issue with the gutters, you know, I mean, it's hard to tell water where to go.
Yes, sir.
And that's one way to do it. And, you know, it doesn't seem like a big issue unless you live next door and your neighbor's 3 feet up and you catch all of his water. I believe we need to stay consistent with that recommendation.
Basically, it sounded to me, and correct me, Ms. Terrapini, if I'm wrong, it sounded to me like they could work with the same language that you agreed to previously.
Yes,
If it's
sir.
5 feet or less, we gutter it. And of course, with the hip roof.
That's why.
Facades, and if that sounds correct, that's what I heard, so.
Yes, sir, Mr. Miller and Mr. Chairman, we would agree the same condition that you imposed on the other project.
A lot of memories out there at Mulehead. Maybe I shouldn't say anything about that.
Fishing, I'm sure.
But it was 60 years ago. Okay, is there any more discussion?
Clarification, the gutter provision would apply only if it's a 5-foot setback, correct?
Correct.
So if it's a 7.5-foot setback, which is what they're proposing, gutters would not be required.
Correct. If you have a 7.5 adjacent to a 7.5, you get the 15 feet.
I like the idea of the separation.
Yes, sir.
Distance. Thank you.
Yes, sir, that's how we understand it as well, that it would apply to a 5-foot setback.
It's 5-foot setback and the particular architecture on that lot.
Yes, sir.
So, and on the trails, I think that that's a fair solution.
Yeah.
On as far as golf carts or paths, we have it right over here in Venetian, so I think that's a fair solution.
Very good. All right, we don't get to vote on 707 plus acres.
We're going to have a little discussion.
Yeah, that's what we're doing now.
Question, any of the other developments that are nearby, are any of those attached dwellings that we've approved, like for Hanover?
Lyden Nicholson does have attached.
Where is that?
Correct.
Lyden Nicholson does have attached units, and I think
Whispering
they
Hills, I
have
think, has
multifamily
some
as
to the
well.
north, and Lyden Nicholson has some back to the west.
Well, I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, Lyden Nicholson is. See that the orange blob at the very top of our property? Is there a? There's no.
Should be a button on there.
Before I blind myself with this light, maybe you can show. The middle. Oh, man. Okay. So Lyden Nicholson is this long parcel here, and then just off the map, the western edge. And I believe, if I remember correctly, this part of Lyden Nicholson has attached units.
That is correct.
Has that been approved?
Yes, sir.
That was that one where you're talking about 8 units per acre.
Right. Their total max density would be 8. They came in and actually wanted to change some things, and we did that maybe 2 months ago.
I'm trying to remember what I had for lunch.
Me too.
Mine gets a little full after a while. The one thing that I want to compliment you on, not just one, but is that you're incorporating some commercial. Something for these people to do.
Yes, sir.
A restaurant, a grocery store, or a bar, if they want to get away from each other for a little bit. I don't think we're getting enough of that. We're getting a lot of growth south of town, and it means everybody has to get in their car and go somewhere instead of being able to get in their golf cart and go somewhere, and keep the traffic off the roads. I would like to see some sort of an agreement with all of these developments that are going on, is get a consensus, get some sort of thought to bring in something. There's going to be some retailers in Leesburg that don't want to hear this, but you know, you have to go to Leesburg, you have to go to Orlando to have an evening out, to go to a movie or something of that nature. So I encourage that, and I'm glad to see that you've got some commercial involved in this. We don't see enough of it.
Thank you so much. And our commercial site is large enough to incorporate a grocery anchored shopping center. So that was the goal all along, so that people could not just have those other activities that you mentioned, as you know, have a dinner out or something like that, but be able to shop on the way home and go on home for dinner, or do their shopping on Saturdays.
Yeah, very good.
I probably missed it, but about how many acres are designated for the commercial retail?
26 acres total, and of that, it is also limited by the square footage to 140,000 square feet of actual building.
I'm still old school on the size of lots, and you know, 45-foot lots don't particularly appeal to me, but it's a personal preference. But I would like to see at least 50-foot lots. I'm still concerned, as we all are, with traffic concerns on 27, and at what point the state of Florida can get involved in actually getting a plan together to widen that road. So I don't know how that affects the final approval of this project with other entities other than the city of Leesburg. So.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that comment. We, as part of the plan amendment, we did do our traffic engineer did do a preliminary analysis, and this section of US 27 is at level of service B. B as in boy, whereas, you know, level of service D is acceptable. So we're above the level of service today. When the project is added, it will still be at B. Also, Bridges Road is at level of service B as in boy. So again, they're existing. They do have capacity on those two roads, but we also are very aware that we will have to go to DOT and get permits from DOT for our driveways. We propose to have one full access, as I mentioned, at Bridges, and probably a right-in, right-out further south. But we know that that all has to go to DOT and get approval. We'll most definitely likely require turn lanes. We understand that that's our obligation as well. So, like I said, NVR has been around a long time. They know what's going to be required of them. And actually, our engineer told me today that he's already submitted to Lake County for the next most level of detail of traffic study to determine the turn lanes for 27, the turn lanes for Dewey Robbins, you know, to continue that process on. So we understand the process.
Well, just for point of conversation, I'm concerned about the entire length of, I know that you have the requirement for turn lanes with the DOT. That's going to be a requirement before you can develop.
Right.
But it's the traffic flow on a two-lane highway going north and south that concerns me, and I don't know who, at what point the state says, okay, yeah, we got to widen this road. And that's not your concern, but it should be the concern of the county and the city at some point to where do we, you know, how much do we approve and increase that traffic without the state jumping in to help us out? And I don't know the answer to that.
Right, and I would just encourage you, I've seen other communities be very successful in monitoring that very carefully because they're more aware of what projects are being approved, and then working with DOT to get projects included into the DOT's. They do a 5-year work program. Unless it's in that work program, it doesn't get budgeted and it doesn't get built. So, I mean, Mr. Miller's not his head. He knows how to do that, I'm sure. But I would just encourage you to continue to work with DOT and, of course, with the county for those improvements.
Any more discussion?
No, sir.
If not, I'll call the question and ask for a motion.
Have you opened it to the,
Nobody's raised it. Anybody want to speak out there? You shut up.
Going by the rules, man.
I know it. The rules are getting tired right now. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve public hearing case number LSCP 22-288.
Have a motion for approval. Do I hear a second? Got a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to 22289.
Mr. Chairman, case number PUD 22-289, I move to approve as presented.
I have a motion for approval. Do I hear a second? Got a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, may I just confirm that would be with the change to the gutter
Correct,
condition?
with the
Thank you so much.
amendments. And handicap accessible trail.
It will definitely be handicapped accessible. We're not proposing any of the other materials. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Big fan of the floating bark myself. I like the floating bark.
We're moving right along. Public hearing case SPUD 22294, storage, small planned unit development.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public hearing case SPUD 22294, TT storage, small plan unit development. Basically, Mr. Chairman, this is a modification of the zoning on an existing PUD done in 2016 for PUD 16-24. It's approximately 4.64, give or take, acres. The change is essentially to the expiration date of that ordinance. In PUDs over the years, the city of Leesburg has always used a 4-year sundown or expiration provision in its planned unit developments. The reason for that was in case heavy development like we're getting now would come into an area where a PUD exists. If that PUD had expired, it may no longer be the appropriate land use for that property. What we found out over the years is that the 4 years doesn't make a big deal here. It's been shifted to 10 years, which is much more appropriate even in busy developing times, I think. So this is a request to update the PUD to that 10-year provision and to allow update the PUD to our current standards, which have changed a bit since 2016. Candy Harper can present the maps and photo exhibits at this time, please.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. This is located on State Road 44 West. You're not quite to Sumter County yet. Diane discovered that driveway doesn't have a name, but it does give access to the site. The zoning currently is SPUD, and this is updating that SPUD. Lake County zoning is all around it. It's planned unit development, agriculture, and commercial. And the Lake County, I'm missing all kind of maps. The future land use on it that's being
it's currently general commercial.
Yes.
State general commercial.
The current zoning is general commercial. Future land use around it is.
Everybody hit the wall or what?
Yeah.
We've all hit it.
I was going to say with this agenda, we hit my saturation point.
You think?
So it's regional office all the way around it, and looks like we'll transition to the north. The surrounding land uses are vacant residential and pasture, along with a little bit of industrial to the south. There's wetlands on the extreme west side of the property. And I put this in to show you how far away it is from the closest community redevelopment area. That is to say, it is not in one. And the commission district, should it be in the current commission district is 3.
Easy for you to say.
So we posted it, and that's a picture on the top, and that's shooting into what has become heavily wooded again. That's looking east into the property. And then the next picture is looking south across the access road. And looking west, you can see the open pasture land for the moment. And looking north on the access road is the bottom picture, and that's all I have, Mr. Miller.
Should be a lot lighter on the photos.
Thank you, Candy. With that, we move to the departmental review summary. No comments came back from the city departments. Nothing from Lake County, obviously nothing from the school board. And we received no public responses on this one. I'll go ahead, Mr. Chairman, if it's all right, and read the recommendations into the record. For SPUD 294.
294.
294. The other wall is there, I'm sorry. Planning and Zoning Division recommends approval of this request for the following reasons. Number one, the intent of the proposal is to amend the PUD, including Section 11B, implementation of development of Ordinance 1624, to extend the implementation date of the project to support future development in the area. Two, the proposed request is compatible with the current surrounding zoning districts of Lake County Agriculture, Lake County Planned Industrial, which is MP. Proposed request is still compatible with the existing future land use designation of general commercial. Proposed request does not appear to create a detriment to the surrounding properties. And the action request is a vote to approve staff's recommendation to modify the conditions of PUD 1624 and forward these recommendations to the City Commission for consideration. Okay, this is the one case. I'm sorry, I got it mixed up. That's where I got mixed up. And if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please.
I'd like to thank the Springstead brothers, David and Mike, for
their patience.
For their patience. You got a lunch on me.
I'll help you out, Dan.
Wait a minute, we're here too, man.
Hey, we're here for the big bucks.
I'll see you at Ramshackles tomorrow.
Hey, can I go ahead and make a motion?
We got a long presentation.
Yeah, but we got the vote.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this.
No, any discussion amongst y'all?
No discussion.
Any discussion?
Okay,
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
SPUD 22-294, I recommend approval.
We have a motion for approval. Do I have a second? We have 3 seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
I want to say something, one more thing. I want to say to the Springstead boys, I remember when you were little kids visiting your dad over at the office building where the old Paulie O. Kelly Donovan real estate office. You all walk down the hallway, your dad was down there. So I wouldn't have recognized you guys. So good to see you again.
We have another.
And I'm not going to mention the times I've seen you.
Wait a minute. We got another motion we need here, John.
Oh, what's that?
I'm looking for a motion on 22229.
That's a separate thing.
Let's get it out of the way.
I'll go ahead and make a motion on that one.
Okay.
Let me start passing out drinks, and I didn't get one.
Okay, motion carries. Public hearing case SSCP 22299, Leesburg Small Bay Small Scale Comp Plan Amendment. Take care, gentlemen. Good to see y'all. Take care, neighbor.
See you, brothers.
For case number, if I may, Mr. Chairman, take these two cases together.
Yes,
22299, Leesburg Small Bay Small Scale Comp Plan Amendment, and 22300 Small Bay rezoning. These properties are located south of West Main and east of Progress Road. The first is an amendment to the comp plan, changing future land use of 3.42 acres from Lake County Industrial to City of Leesburg Industrial. The second case is a rezoning from Lake County HM, which is heavy industrial, to City of Leesburg M1, which is industrial. The purpose of this is to basically get utilities so they can develop. The plan is not to develop anything heavy industrial. It's basically warehouse type uses. Candy, if you could, Candy Harper, senior planner with the office, if you could quickly go through the maps and
I would be glad to, Mr.
Yeah,
Miller.
hurry up and make it before we do a motion.
So the picture in front of you shows where this property is located. It lies just east of Progress, out on State Road 44 West. The zoning around it is all industrial. Lake County zoning is industrial. The proposed zoning is industrial. And the future land use shows, again, that it's surrounded by industrial in the city and also in the county. And the proposed future land use is industrial. The surrounding land uses are, can I hear it from you? Industrial. There are flood zones on the site. They will have to build to flood zone standards. There are no wetlands on that particular site. And again, this just shows you where the nearest community redevelopment area is. It is not in one. Commission district is 3. And we took pictures from Highway 44, looking south into the property from where we posted the sign, looking west on West Main Street. Picture on the top is looking north on West Main Street, and the picture on the bottom is looking east on West Main Street. And that's all I have, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Ms. Harper. Under the departmental review summary, there were no concerns from the departments. We received nothing from the surrounding property owner, letters, newspaper advertisements, sign postings. I'll read the recommendations into the record. For case number SSCP 22299, Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval of this request for the following reasons. The project meets the requirements of Chapter 163.3187, parentheses 1, parentheses C, Florida statutes for small-scale comprehensive plan amendments to the proposed future land use designation of industrial is compatible with the current surrounding future land use categories of city industrial and does not appear to create a detriment to the nearby property under the conservation category and is compatible with Lake County industrial. 3, the proposed future land use designation of industrial is compatible with the proposed zoning of city M1 industrial and does not appear to create a detriment to the adjacent zoning districts of M1 industrial, Lake and Lake County, HM heavy industrial, and LM light industrial. 4, the proposed future land use designation for the site is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element goal 1, objective 1.6. The action requested is vote to approve staff's recommendation to change the future land use of the subject property from Lake County industrial to city of Leesburg industrial and forward. This recommendation to the city commission for their consideration. For case number RZ 22300, Leesburg Small Bay Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval of this request for the following reasons. 1, the proposed request is compatible with the current surrounding zoning districts of Lake County, HM, LM, and City M1, all of those being industrial districts. Number 2, the proposed zoning district of M1 industrial is compatible with the existing city future land use designation of industrial. Number 3, as conditioned, the proposed use does not appear to be detrimental to the surrounding properties. And we had a bear of a time, Mr. Chairman, if I may stop for one moment, getting this 300-page packet ready. So I'm going to mark out number 3 because there are no conditions here. And then number 4, the rezoning of the subject property is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element goal 1 and objective 1.6. The action requested is 1, vote to approve the staff's recommendation to rezone the subject property from Lake County HM heavy industrial to city of Leesburg M1 industrial and forward this recommendation to the city commission for their consideration. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Case number SSCP 22299, I move to approve.
Motion for approval. There a second?
Second.
We got 2 seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye. I won't even ask for another. Go ahead with 2230. Entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve RZ 22-300.
Have a motion for approval. Do I hear a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Yes.
Okay, I got a couple of things I want to talk about.
We don't have time for that.
I want to, the city can save money on copy machines and paper. We need computers.
I'm going to fall out of the chair.
I'm talking to you, Dan.
Okay, may I follow up on that?
Yes.
Is that a consensus?
Yeah, you know, if we.
A tablet or something would probably be a lot more,
Anything.
It would make our jobs tremendously easier. Now, the reason we haven't gone that way, because Christine's going to die when she hears this tomorrow. Because, she's been saying, we got to do this, we got to do this. And I said, no, our planning commission has told us in years past, we want the packets. Now, that happened in years past.
Yeah.
This is a bit different commission. It's got a bit different.
Hey, we're high tech.
I'm good.
not saying we won't need a seminar.
I don't know about that, but.
It will be.
John's flip phone.
What it will be. What it will be is one packet in a PDF, and we can have it opened and loaded for you. So if you can hit the up and down button, you'll be okay.
Yeah, come on.
You're going to have to educate some of us.
That's okay. We can do that.
That'd be good.
I have a millennial, so
We did it in the villages. It's so much nicer.
great. We'd love to do that. Now, it will take some time to source the computers and so
Next
forth.
week will be fine.
It may take us a little while. Let me see what. Hopefully, we can find them or use the commissions or however it works. I don't
But
know.
leave the games on there because it gives me something to do while you guys bore me.
Right. And then
Gopher Tortoises, I could play solitaire.
the Gopher Tortoise game. And I did have, if you're finished, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I did have two quick announcements. One, we did receive an email from Mr. Chris Wood. Sabrina alerted me yesterday that Mr. Wood has decided to resign from the commission. He is no longer, or is moving to Ocala, Marion County somewhere.
Yeah.
So I had heard the rumor but didn't know for sure, so we got that. So we do have the ad. We have had the ad out for new planning commissioners. I have not seen many.
I've got a question. Do you have to be a resident of
Yes,
the
sir.
city of Leesburg? Okay.
To the best of my understanding, the answer is yes. I'll double check that.
That's what I went off of.
We've always handled it that way. There have been instances in the past that we're not sure about.
What about historic preservation, also city of
To the
Leesburg?
best of my ability, to the best of my
I
knowledge.
just recently met a person who has experience in planning, zoning, and had actually worked for a firm down in the Keys.
Had a couple.
They live in the county, but not in the city.
Had a couple of prospects set out here just a little while ago, the Springsteads.
Yeah. Are they both living in Leesburg now?
I know one lives around the corner.
Well, no.
Mike lives up in Weirdsdale.
And then the second announcement, of course, you guys know Carrie Lee resigned to be with her baby. We've been working, we've been interviewing, we've been trying to hang in there. And we have hired two people. Maria Van Allen, she goes by Max, so she'll be here on August 1st. And Melissa Metters will be joining us August 8th. I can't get any men to work for me. So.
All right, but
Don't put that
for
in
you
minutes,
to
please.
see what you can do about giving us a little bit of an easier agenda next month.
I think we're going to succeed. Do you guys remember the number? It's not.
Something like 5.
Yeah.
What day is next month's meeting?
20.
I like
Is it
to make
18?
It's August 18th.
I believe it's 18.
I like to make a motion. Anything after 2 hours, they get overtime.
Overtime. Yeah. Raise it from $25 a meeting to 30.
You can have that conversation with Mr. Alminer anytime
Did
you like.
Al's father pass away?
Yes, sir. Thank you. As noted in the opening prayer, Mr. Minner's father passed away. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. And Al has the funeral or memorial service is either today or tomorrow. I'm not sure. So,
Was he local?
I believe he was in Daytona or Port Orange.
Yeah, we're turning it off. We're done. Meeting adjourned.
We're not talking business anyway. So.
You can't hear you, Dan.
You turned it off accidentally.
Oh, you can cut it. I'm done.
I'm done.
All right.
Dan, you said August 18th?
Yes.
Yes.
I will not be.
Okay.
So you're looking for how many additional commissioners? 3?
3.
Oh, cool.
That is cool.
You're not gonna get any cigars, are you?
Not for the heat.
Yeah.
Good job, Dan.
Thank you all.
And crew, thank you guys. Y'all did a lot of work.
See you, brother.
Put this together.
Yeah, that's some good cigars down there.